Fox Sports welcomes you to the following presentation of the National Football League.
Here at Cincinnati, temperature in the mid-50s, a little breezy wind warning later in the day, and a 50% chance of rain. Down to the field in Laura Oakman.
Hi, Chris. Both of these teams have been at this intersection before, hovering around 500, and knowing today can go a long way in determining their direction. Said Bucs, Cameron Brate, when you're 500, a game like this can derail you. We've been here so many times before, yet haven't taken advantage of it. A.J. Green knows the feeling. Riding a two-game losing streak, A.J. said, there's no panic here, but there is adversity. And today will show us how we deal with it. Chris?
Thank you. And Dirk Cutter saying this is the first true outdoor weather game that the Bucs will experience as the hero of last week after almost being the GOAT. And I don't mean the new trendy GOAT. I mean
the old
kicker.
GOAT.
Yeah, right. Now he's the young kicker who delivered the longest game-winning overtime kick in NFL history of 59 yards. Chandler Catanzaro down on the field earlier trying to gauge the wind conditions. The Bucs won the toss deferred, so he'll be kicking off. And deep is Alex Erickson. 3-3 Bucs, 4-3 Bengals happening on Fox. Week 8. Good to have you watching with us. Touchback and out to the 25-yard line comes Andy Dalton, completing 64% of his passes and 15 touchdown passes. Handles the blitz well. We'll see how he handles the Bucs if they decide to blitz very much at all.
But that was the big thing last week, was really the good matchup for Cincinnati was their offense against the Chiefs defense that had been struggling all season, and they did not perform well. So they've got another defense that's trying to find their way. Can they turn it around this week against the Bucs?
Joe Mixon with a first down and plenty more out to the 43. Marvin Lewis told us at Friday's meetings we got to get Mixon going. Giovanni Bernard is missing his 4th straight game, and after that gain of 18, they go without a huddle. Mixon bounces outside and brought down short of midfield. Buccaneers again without Gerald McCoy and Vinnie Curry up front. Mentioned Quan Alexander. They actually lost 2 linebackers, Jack Cicci and Alexander, last week because of injury.
And you see right there, they are the 6th ranked rush defense in the league, so trying to strike that balance could be a challenge. Obviously your best matchup is going to be against that 29th ranked pass defense.
Mixon is a receiver. Dalton with time and gets a first down. Tyler Boyd inside the Tampa Bay 30. And slow to get up. Boyd looks like he's in some pain here after a gain of 22.
Well, that'd be a big loss. They're just trying to sort through all the tight end injuries that they've had. It kind of shifted them out of their favorite personnel. Sliding into 3 wides, this challenges with that grouping.
We'll check on the Tyler Boyd injury. Opening series for the Bengals here.
Sponsored by the Spark Cash Card from Capital One.
Injuries, inactive players, 4 key offensive members for Marvin Lewis. Cody Core comes in for Boyd, who trotted over to the Bengals sideline. Extra lineman in. And Mixon slowed down after a couple of plays, actually 3 plays, gained 46 yards before that snap.
Yeah, you mentioned Tyler Boyd popped up. You wonder if it was right there on the right shoulder, maybe even having the wind knocked out of you, which, it does, getting the wind knocked out of you, there's a little bit more to it than that. It's not one of the most pleasant things, so he's back in the lineup right now.
Yeah, came in with 40 catches and 4 touchdowns, so quickly back on 2nd and 8. Already in field goal range. Dalton a little bit high for Uzama, who reached up, couldn't quite come down with it. You mentioned the tight ends. It's just been a miserable first half of the season. Even going back to training camp, the Bengals 4 or 5 tight ends that have been injured and out of the picture, whether it's Tyler Eifert or Shrek. Brought up Jordan Franks for today, and he looks like he's ailing a bit.
Yeah, Uzama looks like he's a little bit nicked coming off that last play, coming into the huddle there. So that was their preferred personnel group during that first month of the season when they got out to the good start, was the 3 tight end group, and they're in the middle of adjusting out of that right now.
Using more 3 wide receiver today.
It's hot!
On third down, here's a flag. It was third down and 8 from the 27 of the Bucs.
Neutral zone infraction. Defense, number 90. 5-yard penalty. Remains third down.
That's on Bucs veteran Jason Pierre-Paul. Alex Kemp is our referee, so that shortens things to third down and 3. Pierre-Paul a bit aggressive. He's had a sack in each of the last 5 games. Probably hoping for another one there. Mixon is a receiver now, coming back into the backfield. He gets the football and knocked down right around the 20. It'll bring up, looks like they're going to hurry and try to go on 4th and short and snap it without hesitation. You see how short they are using that superimposed line. Mixon is tackled right away. Jordan Whitehead from his safety spot got to the feet or ankles of Mixon and kept him from surging forward.
Yeah, great job coming up from that safety position. Here he is right here. Watch as that plate bounces, try to come out the backside. Good contained, shuffles in. There he is, right spot to make the tackle. Love the decision, love the preparedness in making that decision to be able to go quickly on 4th down, but a good play by Jordan Whitehead.
And you mentioned after Mike Smith was let go prior to the game against the Browns last week, the change made to Mark Duffner, who takes over from linebacker coach as defensive coordinator. And they played their best defensive game last week in that win over Cleveland. After the stop, Peyton Barber has a big hole and gets up to the 29-yard line of Cincinnati. Jameis Winston with a chance to make history here. He's got 4 straight starts going back to last year. This is his 3rd start this year. Remember, he had the 3-game suspension that came in relief of Ryan Fitzpatrick in game 4. He's hit for 350 passing yards or more. In fact, the Bucs lead the NFL in passing yards per game, averaging 364.
Ready! Blue 80! What's up?
They need a yard. The handoff to Barber, who gets a first down and pushes his way up across the 37. Offensive line, Ryan Jensen, the center. You'll see Evan Smith work in at right guard with Caleb Benenoch, and 2 outstanding receivers and 2 outstanding tight ends.
Yeah, it's surprised to see the start right here. You see that the 29th ranked rushing team in the NFL, as you pointed out, the #1 passing offense and a very, very talented skill set.
Bucs from their 37-yard line. Winston has all kinds of time, and right on target inside the 45 is Mike Evans.
Mike Evans working on the top right there. He's going to push it into that second level into the middle of the field, and good protection by that Bucs offensive line allows Jameis Winston the time to move through his progressions.
Pickup of 19 yards after a big 4th down stop by the Buccaneer defense. Couple of first downs for the Bucs. Chris Godwin in motion. Barber the handoff. And can't slip away, but he gets down to the 41 against a Bengal defense that's got some studs up front, and Carlos Dunlap and Geno Atkins. They are without Vontaze Burfict, out with a hip injury, and Nick Vigil with a knee injury. Vigil, their second leading tackler.
Yeah, and that's one of the big things. Nick Vigil at the linebacker level, Darquez Denard as their nickelback in the secondary. The communication between those 2 guys, that's one of the things that Terrell Austin, the defensive coordinator, trying to find a solution to.
125! We're good.
52 to go.
Hey, we go to 50. One day. Here we go.
Peyton Barber. And draws a crowd. It'll bring up a 3rd down. Well, Dirk Cutter said, look, if we run well on first down, then we can run more on second down. And he said, whatever you're not doing, that's what people want you to do. If you're throwing the ball, they want you to run the ball more. If you're running it, they want you to throw it more.
Yeah, the way their games have unfolded, unfortunately, they've had to rely on that passing game. And they've got great matchups on the outside. The running game will come with time, but I think it's just a situational thing of how that season has started for them.
They need 4 for a first down. On third down, Winston floats one and almost intercepted. He had it in his hands, cutting in front of the receiver. It was Sean Williams who nearly had his 3rd interception of the season at his 4th down.
Yeah, really nice job by Sean Williams, and a good job by Jameis Winston climbing in the pocket. I thought he was going to try and run for this, but he steps up. He's got to float it a little bit. That gives Sean Williams the time to break on it. Should have made the interception.
And he talked to us about running more and learning to commit to the run himself. When those lanes open up, he can get big first downs. And on 4th down and 4, you'd be trying a 56-yard field goal, and it looks like the Bucs are going to pass that up and go for it from the 38-yard line. A gutsy call, and of course Cutter's got percentages and printouts and analytics, but he goes with a 5 at the end of the day. Jaquiz Rogers checks in. Deep safety drop, the extra pressure, and there's a whistle here. A timeout called.
Timeout, Tampa Bay.
All right, the Bucs use their first timeout on this, their first offensive drive. Quick season recap for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Started with Fitzmagic, wins over the Saints and the Eagles, and then adversity, losing 3 straight. Jameis Winston comes back from the suspension. Mike Smith replaced as defensive coordinator by Mark Duffner, and then a win over Cleveland. They get back to 500, play 3 of their next 4 on the road. Duffner, the defensive coordinator, who was once the defensive coordinator for the University of Cincinnati in the late 70s, and the Bengals defensive coordinator in the late 90s. And there is Duffner enjoying his return to Cincinnati after his defense came up with that big stop. Now it's the Bengals' turn on 4th down. Ronald Jones in at running back. Winston has time. He's going to run, and he's going to get the first down. Boy, there wasn't a lot of space back there, but he made it work.
I think it's actually funny that Jameis Winston learned this from Ryan Fitzpatrick. The quick decision right there. Look at his hands in the pocket, 2 hands on the football. The one big question about Jameis Winston: turnovers, fumbles on the move, interceptions. So you can see right there his concentration on that 2 hands on the ball as he climbs the pocket.
He said he learned by watching Fitzpatrick in the season opener on a big 3rd down to put the game away against the Saints. Fitzpatrick ran, committed to get the first down, and had a few other key runs. Dumps it off to Adam Humphries. Gets down to the 22-yard line. In fact, Winston likes, the Bucs like their matchups with the 3rd and 4th receivers against the depth of the Bengals. There is a flag down.
Offside. Defense, number 96. That penalty is declined. Result of the play is a first down.
Good time for a game break for the first time. Let's say hi to Carissa Thompson. Hey, Carissa.
Hey, Chris Myers. Ravens, Panthers. Ravens opening drive. Rookie quarterback Lamar Jackson under center. Hands it off to Alex Collins, who does the rest. 14 yards. Got his team up 7-0. And a little river dance. Chris?
Nothing wrong with a river dance. Barber the pitch and gets inside the 20. Buccaneers will next play at Carolina. Enjoying the score at the moment.
Interesting to see both teams on the offensive side coming out, really trying to establish that run game here early. We've talked about complementary football with all the coaches we visited with through the course of the season so far. Everyone is trying to get to that point. Both of these teams kind of struggling a little bit, so coming out here really trying to establish that run.
And the aggressive nature of coaches gambling early, we're seeing it more and more. Ronald Jones is a receiver at top of your screen, the rookie running back from USC. Winston, middle of the field, and intercepted. He overthrew Evans, and Sean Williams has the pick for the Bengals. And down the sideline he goes, up across the 25. A takeaway for Cincinnati, and another turnover by Jameis Winston. After converting on a 4th and 4, the Bucs turn it over, an overthrow to Evans, and Cincinnati with the interception.
Sponsored by the $5 Double Chalupa Box, only at Taco Bell.
Mike Majanki and the quarterback coach with Jameis Winston going over what the heck happened. 7th interception. This isn't even Winston's 3rd full game. And it's Tyler Boyd, the receiver, on the handoff after the Bengals takeaway.
Well, let's go back and see if we can figure out what happened, because what you're going to have, here's Preston Brown. Now, he's going to be brought into the play, which means that should have stayed higher, but the reason why he was brought into the play, you can see right there, if he stays higher, he can kind of avoid that. But watch Jameis's eyes. Jameis's eyes. We'll get to that on the next play. Jameis really kind of stares down Mike Evans and brings Preston Brown to the play.
Mixon, after a loss of 2, tackled high but clean and brought down. Carl Nassib.
So if you're a linebacker and you're playing, you're reading eyes right now. Look at those eyes. They are locked on Mike Evans the whole time. So you trust what you're seeing. That allows you to get into that throwing lane, forces the ball up high for the interception.
Yeah, it's earlier when he was looking off some defenders, Darryl, when he was able to kind of complete the big pass downfield. 3rd interception of the season for Williams.
Set. Green 18. Hands up.
3rd and 12. Pressure coming. Dalton floats one short and incomplete as he got hit before letting that go. And the defense of the Bucs, which was much improved last week, and it needed to be. There was nowhere to go but up. I mean, let's be honest about it. No matter how many injuries you have, people have to overcome those. And they have now to force a 3 and out after the Bengals came up with the football.
And it'll be a process. You know, Mark Duffner's going to put his spin on this defense, taking over for Mike Smith. So a nice start last week, and let's see how they're going to do here this afternoon.
Homegrown product. Kevin Huber back to punt. Drives this deep. Humphreys from his 25-yard line. And stopped all the way up near the 34, where the Buccaneers offense will have good field position. Jameis Winston trying to shake off an early interception.
Team is sponsored by Ice Cold Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville. And by Burger King. Get 10 crispy chicken nuggets for just $1 only at Burger King.
For Jameis Winston, when he suffers a couple of interceptions, it's hard for this Tampa Bay team to overcome. You see the record, and in each of the 3 games, again, that he's played this year, this is his 3rd start, he has already thrown 2 picks. Jameis came in after Ryan Fitzpatrick started the season with an NFL record 3 straight 400-yard passing games. Handoff to Peyton Barber. Knocked down around the 37. Jordan Willis making the tackle.
Well, he got lucky on the first one because he tries to float this. Sean Williams should have that one. That should have snuffed out the drive earlier. And then here he just stares down Mike Evans and floats it a little bit. And Sean Williams is not going to let 2 go through his hands.
Was that 40?
Mike, get it to him.
Choose the Mike.
Let him go.
Quick snap. Peyton Barber works his way up to the 40-yard line. That'll bring him 3rd down at about 4. Laura.
I talked to Jameis about these interceptions. He told me he's working on balance, having a level of confidence, but also a level of awareness, saying my picks come after I make a huge play because I thrive off that thrill of a play. I come back and I want to make another one so badly. He's trying to learn that my best play is my next play and giving us another opportunity to simply make a play.
He had that problem in college. It was talked about when he was drafted number 1 overall, Laura. Now on 3rd and 3. He told us he's not going to change the way he plays. He can't think about those. He has to think about making plays. As a flag flies, and he makes a play here, but Evans frustrated because the flag is down at the 30.
False start. Offense, number 74. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
voted captain, Ali Marpet, from that left guard spot, the infraction. So now it's 3rd down and 8.
I thought Dirk Cutter put it a great way. You know, Jameis has to learn that he doesn't have to win every single play during the course of the game. Sometimes you throw the ball away. Sometimes you drop back, you punt the ball, let your defense go on the field. He's got to get that balance of understanding that keeping possession of the football is the best play.
Quiz Rogers in to block, throwing for Deshaun Jackson, and those two have not been able to connect. William Jackson on the coverage, and it's 4th down. By the way, Deshaun Jackson, there were reports about him wanting to be traded. He's represented by the same agent as Jameis Winston, and the team didn't want to comment, but here's what Jason Light, general manager, did tell me about Deshaun Jackson. He said, we are not interested in trading him. He's an important part of the strongest part of our team, and we're contending for a playoff spot. Brian Anger's punt, Erickson on the return. And a big return, spinning up across the 37 to give Andy Dalton some good field position. We're going to look at A.J. Green of the Bengals. Dalton will try and get him the football. In the huddle, number 18, Adriel Jeremiah Green. We know him as A.J., who said about that players-only meeting after the Kansas City letdown, lopsided game, we just want to see a little more out of each other. And the guys talked it over. On 1st down, Dalton floating one down the sideline. Catch made in stride. Jordan Franks, the recently promoted tight end, the rookie from Central Florida.
And one of the reasons that you want to use these guys is because they get matchups with linebackers. That's a favorable matchup. A little wheel route, which means you show the flat and then get vertical. Well thrown ball by Andy Dalton.
And see a little more out of Franks, helping at a position that they have been snake bit with injury at tight end. A gain of 32 and a 1st down as Mixon gets inside the Tampa Bay 30. Bengals were down here before on their opening drive. They went on 4th and short and couldn't convert.
But it's about that rhythm that Andy talked about, trying to establish it. First drive down the field, good rhythm, moving the ball effectively. They get into the red zone area. Bill Lazor calling good plays. That second series, a 3-and-out. You're trying to avoid those as much as possible because it takes you out of that rhythm from series to series.
Dalton open. Tyler Boyd to the goal line. It'll be 1st and goal Bengals. He lunged for it. The official standing right there, so no challenge, was not ruled a touchdown. So if it was, it would have been reviewed anyway. On 1st and goal, it's Mixon, and touchdown Bengals. The jungle's jumping. Cincinnati strikes first.
I think some people are going to wonder why Marvin Lewis didn't challenge that, because it looked to me like Tyler Boyd broke the plane with the football for the touchdown. But keep that challenge in your pocket, because you've got confidence that you can come up from the half-yard line with your offensive line and Joe Mixon and power it in. Just because you go to the challenge doesn't mean you're going to win it.
Mixon's touchdown good, and Randy Bullock for the extra point from 33 yards. Not so automatic if you've noticed around the league. But Bullock gets that one through, and this time on short yardage. Bengal fans grateful their team was able to produce. And now this message from Progressive. Mixon with his 3rd rushing touchdown this season, also has a touchdown catch. 2nd-year player from Oklahoma, came in averaging 4.5 yards a carry. He's already carried 8 times for 30+ yards today. Just over 3 minutes to go here in the opening quarter. Jaquiz Rogers, his chance of Houday echo through the stadium. Lets this one take him into the end zone and out to the 25-yard line. Comes Jameis Winston.
Here's Tyler Boyd on the big catch and run, trying to get this ball in, trying to break the plane. You can see out of bounds before he breaks that plane, so it comes down in. And again, what we're seeing right now, what you talked about earlier, Chris, Marvin Lewis talking to Andy Dalton and saying, hey, you know, we get into these run-pass situations. Let's lean on the run. If it's 50-50, let's go run this week. Let's try and get that offensive line off the ball. Let's try to establish a physical presence during the game.
Jordan Franks, his first career catch, helped set up that touchdown.
We got Thunder. Sunday. Here we go.
Winston to throw, and he's got time. First down across the 43-yard line between three Bengals. O.J. Howard making the catch.
And we talk about the skill set, and immediately you go to the wide receiver position. But for the Buccaneers, they've got O.J. Howard. They've also got Cameron Braid at tight end. So a lot of guys they can get down the field to create some matchup issues.
Gain of 18. They're the only team with 4 wide receivers that have 20 catches or more. And another strong run from Peyton Barber. And Carissa has another game break.
I sure do, Chris. Redskins, Giants. Alex Smith finds Adrian Peterson, just his 6th career receiving touchdown in his 12-year career. For that score, Redskins lead this one early, 7-0. Chris, Darrell, and Laura.
All right, thank you. The Redskins are sneaky good this year as the Giants' second straight season with a miserable start. Pass is caught by Humphreys. Can't put a move on. Thrown down at midfield initially. The rookie Jesse Bates, who leads the Bengals in tackles, got to him and brought him down.
Well, so far this week, much better tackling in space by this Bengals defense. Just a huge issue against Kansas City last week. Now, that's a pretty talented team on the offensive side of the ball, but there were some just fundamental things in their angles and their fits that they just did not execute well.
Third down and 2. Peyton Barber straight ahead. It's going to be close. He had a bit of an opening.
Both of these offenses, you know, it's mainly about their passing game. You know, that's where they make their hay. But I'm impressed here in the first quarter. Both of them, you know, committing to the run a little bit here and doing a nice job of getting that complementary style of offense.
Measurement will be called for here. Dirk Cutter has already gone for it on 4th and 4 in this part of the field. So he's likely to go again if they didn't get the first. But now things are a little different since it's already a 7-0 game.
I think that's just one of the things that we have carryover from the Super Bowl last year, what Doug Peterson did against the Patriots, playing a very, very aggressive style of football, knowing how important possessions are. And if you feel comfortable with what it is, you know, you've got an opportunity to keep that possession instead of punting it to your opponent.
And it's a first down. Our rules analyst, Dean Blandino, part of the original with Mike Pereira, doing the TV officiating, was watching with us. He said the spot was accurate and good enough for a first down. 9 carries for Peyton Barber so far and 40 yards on the ground. As the Bucs trail 7-0, but they've moved the football on this Cincinnati defense. Winston 4 out of 7 and suffered the interception.
High five, ready. 125. 125 out. Hey, Mike 52. Hard it. Sunday. Here we go.
We're going to say Mike 52. Preston Brown, the linebacker. Throw is on target and caught at the 27 for a first down. Mike Evans with a solid grab.
Yeah, and this looks to be one of the routes that they're going to be using here during the course of the day. It's an in route, and you got to worry about that speed, that matchup on the outside. It's a really good job by Mike Evans with his patience, because Drake Kirkpatrick plays it very well and is able to get over the top and then break back inside.
Evans, 5th year from Texas A&M. The Aggie has been outstanding. 5 straight 1,000-yard receiving seasons. Tracking towards that. Under pressure, Winston's got to get rid of it, and it's intercepted. A terrible throw to Preston Brown, and he's going the other way with Cincinnati's second takeaway.
It's a little bit of a play action, and you're trying to get Adam Humphries open in the flat. So watch number 10. He's going to cross your formation, and that's going to be your first read. You come out covered well by the Bengals. Okay, go to your second read. It's not there. It's like we said, you don't have to win every play. You're exactly right, Chris. That's a terrible decision. And Preston Brown is standing right there.
I mean, even take the sack, throw it away, trying to make something happen. And we showed you what this results in. One of those wins, though, did come this year. But it's tough for any defense when your offense keeps turning it over, and that's the problem with Jameis Winston, at least so far in his career. Dalton on the move, has room to run, and he'll keep it and to the 45-yard line. And at the end of the opening quarter in Cincinnati, Dalton sets him up, Mixon takes him in. Bengals 2 takeaways on defense and leads 7-0. First quarter numbers and the 2 interceptions by Winston jump out at you. Look at the time of possession. The Bucs had it twice as long and moved the football, but trail 7-0. Start of the second quarter. Here comes a flag. Looks like a free play for Dalton down the sideline. A.J. Green looked like that throw was out of bounds.
Encroachment. Defense, number 91. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
That's on Bo Allen. Again, a reminder that McCoy with the calf injury and Vinnie Curry with an ankle injury, again out of that defensive line. So people pushed in Vita Vea, the #1 pick, playing up front with Bo Allen. And Duffner said we want to change the lens for Dalton. I want you to expound on what he means by that as he hands off to Mixon, who is tackled right away by Levante David.
It's one of the things that every defensive coordinator wants to do to that opposing quarterback. And when you say change the lens, give them different looks. You can't do the same thing all the time. These guys are just too good. If they even buy down in distance, position on the field, they'll remember from earlier in the game what you ran as a coverage and a blitz package.
Now 3rd and 3. Protected. Catch made for a first down. Well thrown ball. It's Tyler Boyd again. Boyd in his 3rd year, 2nd-round draft pick, who has really come on when they double A.J. Green, which is most of the time. Boyd finds ways to get open.
Yeah, I just think that this group, and he's in the slot right there, 83. Good release, little stutter right there. You can see the separation. But really, you look at what this wide receiver group can do, and if you think about those tight ends being healthy and you could roll both of those personnel groups, a very good offense. And he is killing them on the hard kick.
Yep, another jump by the Buccaneers. The flag down. Dalton knows he's got a free play, so even though that is an interception by Justin Evans, it's likely to come back on the Buccaneers defensive line jumping.
Offside. Defense, number 50. 5-yard penalty. First down.
That's on Vita Vea, the head coach, marking that down. And Boyd has already had an impressive first half from Clarendon High School in Pennsylvania. His high school teams only had 1 loss in 64 games. Already has a couple 100-yard games this season. And with the injuries at tight end and the kind of coverage, Giovanni Bernard being out injured, he's emerged as a go-to guy for Dalton in this offense. Already today, 3 catches. Easier on 1st and 5. Dalton fakes, throws. A one-handed effort came up short from A.J. Green. And he thought he should have had it.
Yeah, he'll be mad at himself for not completing that spectacular catch. But we talked to A.J. Green about, that true #1 wide receiver. And there's a couple of teams throughout the league that have him, but some that don't. And when you have that guy, it's so critical to have a guy like Tyler Boyd that can take up that slack when defenses try to take away A.J. Green.
From the 38-yard line, Dalton dumps it off. Mixon, but an excellent tackle. The Buccaneers are in the top 5 of fewest missed tackles in the NFL, as Darius Taylor, voted special teams captain, having to step into a bigger role without Quan Alexander, made that tackle.
Yeah, and that'll be an interesting thing during the course of the game. They've got 6 linebackers up, the Bucs do, because a lot of these guys are core 4 special teamers, so a lot of snaps for that linebacker group today.
On 3rd and 3, Dalton can run for it, and he will. There's a flag down back at the 43. He got a first down to the 30.
Holding. Offense, number 77. 10-yard penalty. It remains third down.
That's on Cordy Glenn, and that'll back him up. Time for a game break at Kurt Menefee. Hey, Kurt.
Hello, Chris. Say hello from Cam Newton to Greg Olsen. Back from that foot injury, he's now had touchdowns in back-to-back weeks. And Carolina on top against the Ravens, 14-7 early in the second quarter. Mr. Myers, Mr. Johnston, and News Oakland.
And Mr. Menefee, appreciate the update. Mark Walton has it on a screen, and he's going to be stopped short of the first down. The rookie running back from Miami. And there is Lavonte David, who is now the voice of this Bucs defense. Looks like the Bengals have chopped enough off of 3rd and long that they might go for it here at the 36 of Tampa Bay.
Well, punters are becoming endangered species in the NFL.
No need, right? Take the day off. The field goal attempt would be in the range of 54 or so. 4th and 3. Walton remains the back. Dalton's throw, he knew where to go with the football. A.J. Green has a first down, his first catch of the game.
And don't think that that doesn't have a lot to do with that decision, because when you get into that area of 4th down, you've got the chemistry between Andy Dalton and A.J. Green. Good timing on the rollout. That was one of the things Mark Duffner, the defensive coordinator for Tampa, told us. That ball comes out quick. We've got to have tight coverage early.
Dalton throwing again off the hands of Erickson, and Alex Erickson just turned around when the ball came, but Dalton gets rid of the ball as quick as maybe any quarterback in the league today, with maybe the exception of Tom Brady.
Yeah, the number one thing you're going to see, and that means sometimes shorter routes, but also great timing and understanding of the coverage, so you can kind of get the ball up in the air and let your wide receivers run underneath it.
Home numbers impressive to start the season. A bye week coming up, and then home against the Saints. The pitch. Mixon turns the corner, has a first down. Going out of bounds, and the Bengals are knocking on the door once again.
Watch Cordy Glenn, your left tackle. He's going to pull out and around. Watch him bypass the linebacker right here. He's not going to be able to make the play. Looks at him a little bit, gets downfield, gets one more block. That's crucial to have big runs in the game. Are those decisions out on the edge? Should I have stayed and blocked that linebacker? No, he knew that his running back was going to be able to out-leverage him.
Glenn played well last week, one of the few Bengals that did, and that loss to KC. Pickup of 13 yards. Dalton wide open at the 15-yard line as Mixon and knocked down right away, as the Buccaneers have the NFL's worst red zone defense. They're allowing touchdowns 86% of the time.
Yeah, that's not good. This is all about scoring, and you unfortunately, teams are going to get down here, but you've got to force field goals, and you can see how much this Bucs defense has struggled forcing field goals.
And against a Bengal offense that is second best producing when they get inside the 20 in the red zone. A.J. Green lines up inside. Dalton rolls, looking, throwing, and knocked away. Brent Grimes with good coverage in the Bucs secondary.
Really good coverage. A little bit of misdirection. You've got your quarterback out on the edge. There's your bunch of wide receivers off to the left. Now they're going to all kind of cross the field and get to the other side. And then Andy Dalton resets himself. I mean, he steps back. He doesn't try to get a positive play out of that running the football. He steps back. So really nice job of having the extended coverage.
3rd down and 6, spotted inside the Buccaneer 10. Dalton end zone throw, touchdown Bengals! Turning and grabbing it, Tyler Boyd.
This is really nice placement on the ball by Andy Dalton. Adarius Darius Taylor is going to kind of drift back and cloud this throwing lane, but watch where the ball is placed. You're going to push it up right there, spins to the outside.
His 5th touchdown catch of this season, capping a 12-play, 58-yard drive. And the extra point, Bullock. And it's 14-0 Cincinnati. Andy Dalton with his 16th touchdown pass of the season. Bengals rolling. Those are the numbers on the drive that Boyd finished off, and Dalton having a crisp afternoon. 9 out of 14, over 120 yards and a touchdown. And a couple of 4th down gambles for the Bengals. One paid off, one didn't. And 2 Jameis Winston interceptions. Jaquiz Rodgers, if he has the chance to return, and he'll bounce it. Touchback out to the 25. We'll see how Winston tries to bounce back. And Daryl Johnson, Chris Myers, nice to have you watching with us. A concern when Winston has played 4 games this year and has thrown now 8 interceptions.
A big concern, but maybe even a little bit more from the response last week. He had the turnovers. They were -3 overall in the turnover ratio. They won that game. That's only the 4th time in 99 opportunities in that situation for the franchise. It shows you how important those turnovers was. His response, I made the critical play to Deshaun Jackson to give us that field goal opportunity. That's not the right thought process when you're talking about turnovers and taking care of the football.
You're playing with fire, and you wonder now, down 14, play selection. They were running the ball well with Peyton Barber. They were moving the ball, but the one thing you can't do is give it away. Bengals were there to take it. And spotted now at the 26. What's in the head of Jameis Winston? He's already telling us he doesn't want to think about turnovers. He's got to play his style of football, but it's not working. Not here.
White. Yep.
Ronald Jones, the back. He's got the catch, and he slides down short of the 30-yard line. Laura.
Chris, you said what's in his head as a quarterback. I'm going to tell you one of the things that's in his head as a man. It's growing as a person, and he told me counseling is really helping him. Jameis said, I could listen to the outside world and at times think, man, I'm a bad person. So I had to learn myself to be able to grow, the good, the bad. He told me one of the biggest things is I don't just do something in the moment anymore. I now think about what comes after that moment.
Well, he's now in his 4th year in the NFL, and the patience have to be running thin on him and the Buccaneer organization. That pass delivered well and hauled in for a 1st down catch by Adam Humphries. I thought on the pregame show, Jimmy Johnson, your former head coach and Super Bowl coach of the Cowboys, was asked about the quarterbacks, NFL quarterbacks in Florida, assessing between Bortles, Tannehill, and Winston. What would he do? How would he handle things?
Yeah, and Bortles, too many turnovers, so he would have turned the page on him with a contract coming up. Tannehill can't stay healthy, so he's going to turn the page on him. With Jameis, he was kind of non-committal. The talent is there, but he felt as though he could get through to him on this turnover situation. So I think Jimmy would have given him the opportunity to stay with the organization.
As the team has, and Dirk Cutter has, offensive coordinator to now his head coach. Overthrows Godwin, who was open inside, and it'll be a 2nd down play.
And this is just one of the ones that can get away from you when the ball sails. Godwin on the outside, just going to run down on a deep curl route right there. You're going to sell it long and then pull it back. But again, just the timing's off a little bit. He's waiting on it. It's a little bit high. Now this Jameis Winston had a fantastic preseason, coming off his best preseason of his career. So I think there was a lot of expectations for him too when he got back from that suspension, and it hasn't panned out yet.
But then he had to sit 3 games away from the team. Ronald Jones will be tackled right away at the 35-yard line. Carlos Dunlap. So tackling not a problem after all the missed tackles. Defensive coordinator Terrell Austin said, if you don't tackle, you don't have a chance in this league.
No, and that's the big thing. It's the foundation of a defense. It's the base that you work off of it. And you watch that tape against Kansas City, and it was something I know Marvin Lewis was not proud about with his guys. Terrell Austin really worked on him with this week. The angles to the ball carrier being in that spot.
On 3rd and 14. He's protected. Winston is sacked. Had some time but couldn't get out of there. Give Sam Hubbard credit. Eventually, the rookie from Ohio State, who's from Cincinnati, bringing him down.
And you're seeing his pocket presence in regards to the turnovers much improved. Watch his hands. 2 hands on the ball. 2 hands on the ball. He's got it covered. So he's doing well there. Now it really comes down to these decisions and his accuracy that we've seen kind of go awry a little bit early in this game.
Brian Anger back to punt inside the 15. Alex Erickson. Flag flies as he waves for the fair catch at the 27. Only had 2 accepted penalties so far.
Player out of bounds on a kick. Kicking team, number 25. That 5-yard penalty will be added to the end of the kick. First down, Cincinnati. Timeout.
See the wind kicking up. That's on Peyton Barber, the running back, having to play special teams. The Bengals enjoying a 14-0 lead, and they have the football in the second quarter. Halloween Wednesday. Maybe he's going as Buccaneer Bruce. We know who he's going as. Bengals take over. Good field position. 6.5 before the half. Dalton to throw again and has time. And wide open at midfield. And falling forward with his 5th catch of the day is Tyler Boyd. He's caught at least 3 passes in every game this year.
Yeah, just doing a great job taking advantage of everybody kind of being focused on A.J. Green. Actually, I had him one more inside. He was the inside guy all the way. That was A.J. Green. Even I'm looking at A.J. Green. That's why Tyler Boyd's getting open.
And there he is in motion.
It's hot. Let's go. Wolf Orange. Wolf Orange. Wolf Orange. Miami's up.
After a gain of 19, the handoff. Joe Mixon down inside the 35 of the Bucs. And when Marvin Lewis said we need to get him going, he wasn't kidding.
And as a concern of Mark Duffner as well, I had a lot of respect for Joe Mixon, and you can see why you want to get this running game going. And that was after a big pass play. You know, get that balance back. Let Joe Mixon start grinding some yards for you.
Dalton's throw. Boyd inside the 10 of Tampa Bay.
They're getting really good matchups with Tyler Boyd. Here he is again, getting matched up against M.J. Stewart, the nickel back. Catching him on the nickel, catching him on some safeties, catching him on some linebackers.
26-yard pickup, 1st and goal. Mixon is into the end zone, and the Bengals expand their lead. A 2-touchdown day for Joe Mixon.
It's a really nice job by the Bengals offensive line. I mean, this is one of those walk-ins. And you go into the weak side, too. You go into your offensive right side. Real nice job by Trey Hopkins getting it secured at the center position, filling in for Billy Price. Good job on the front side.
Randy Bullock has not missed an extra point this year.
Oh, don't do that again, Chris.
Well, come on, and he hasn't missed today. You see, it's all about the guy kicking. He's 3 for 3 on extra points and 25 out of 25 this season. And Mixon, Dalton, Boyd, Bengals, Cincinnati up 21-0 over the Bucs.
Game on Fox is sponsored by Ford. Built Ford proud. And by Bud Light, reminding you to not drink and ride your horse.
Here in Cincinnati, Joe Mixon, a dozen carries, averaging over 5.5 yards a carry and a couple of touchdowns, thanking his offensive line for giving him room to run. Just over 5 minutes to go before halftime. And Bullock keeps the touchback thing going. Winston out to the 25. Tonight, Game 5 of the World Series. Dodgers hope to stay alive. Red Sox won a wild one after coming back from 4-0 late. Fall Classic from Dodger Stadium after football on Fox and also on the Fox Sports app. As you see, it's a rematch. Actually, Price going against Clayton Kershaw, who pitched Game 1 for Los Angeles. And the first ever baseball game played professionally was here in Cincinnati, 1869. Also the first night game played here.
Hard it, hard it.
Ready. Blue ready. Close up.
Pressure. Winston does a great job of getting away, and a flag comes in as he got back to the line of scrimmage. And the Bengals may be accused of a late hit. There's another flag further downfield at the 45-yard line.
He gave himself up. You can't go to the head and neck area on that play.
Yeah, Sam Hubbard, it looked like.
There are 2 fouls on the play, both by the defense. Holding, number 27. That penalty is declined. Personal foul, number 94. That penalty is accepted. 15 yards, automatic first down.
Hubbard on the call against Winston. Drake Kirkpatrick in the secondary. They let that one go. And it's a first down for the Bucs.
Go down. 52 some wide. Line 57.
Ready. Blue ready. Close up.
Jameis Winston to throw. Going deep. He's got Deshaun Jackson. Deshaun Jackson has a Buccaneer touchdown. What a throw and what a catch, covering 60 yards.
Still has tremendous speed at this point in his career. Gets on top of everybody. Working against William Jackson on the outside. Nothing fancy there. You got to get out of your back pedal and get on your horse.
Fourth touchdown catch of the season for Jackson, who connected well with Ryan Fitzpatrick when he was in. And over his career, he's been a big play receiver as Chandler Catanzaro is on to add the extra point. And he did not add it. Catanzaro, who had the issue last week, in fact, extra points, he's been 17 out of 20 before this miss.
You know, sometimes when somebody gets this far beyond everybody on a route, it's usually a double move or something that's kind of sneaky, but he just ran right by William Jackson. And that's the matchup. We talked to him. They were going to do a little bit of matchups, and that was the one that William Jackson was excited about. And this changes everything. It takes the life out of your offense. I mean, you haven't played well. You've had turnovers. You hit a big play. Everybody's excited, and then you come out and you do that. And now you're like, now it's 21-6. Same position that you got into last week, chasing at that one
and
point.
Your coach starts thinking about, do I need to go for 2 if I can't provide?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, you get them to do it. They start thinking about it. You start chasing that 1 point.
It's only a 33-yard kick. Since they permanently moved that extra point back to that range, it has created a lot of angst for kickers and coaches. So now he hits the goalpost.
Maybe you can get the point back.
Well, Deshaun Jackson, despite the rumor of possibly wanting to be traded, which the Buccaneers shot down, you look at the kind of company he's in when it comes to touchdowns of 60 yards or more in the history of this game.
Yeah, you mentioned when you talked about Catanzaro, the GOAT. That was the GOAT for the wide receivers right there. Anytime you are ahead of Jerry Rice on a statistic, well done, Deshaun Jackson.
Greatest of all time, and that's why General Manager Jason Light said we have no interest in trading Deshaun. And in fact, Kirk Cousins talked about him emerging more as a leader. I understand him more and his street cred with this team. He showed it there. Dalton is airing it out deep between a couple of Buck defenders. No flags. trying to get to A.J. Green, but he was well covered this time. Carlton Davis, the rookie corner, was with him.
But that's one of the things that A.J. will tell Andy. Hey, don't throw the ball to me, just to get the ball there. We'll find our opportunities. This is one of those situations. It's double covered deep down there, but there's that confidence that A.J. can go make a play. But you don't want to get too aggressive, even though you've got great chemistry with each other.
Green with 1 catch. Tyler Boyd has 6, including his 3rd career 100-yard game. A 2nd and 10. Dalton to throw again off the hands of Tyler Boyd, and a missed opportunity for a Bucs takeaway. Carissa has a game break.
I sure do, Chris. Here you go. Steelers trailing the Browns 6-0 in the second when Ben Roethlisberger finds, guess who? Antonio Brown. No one's worried about this connection anymore. 43-yard touchdown. Steelers up 7-6. Chris Terrell and more.
Thank you. The leaders of the AFC North, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have gotten on a roll, and you see the Bengals looking up at them. The Ravens, by the way, have fallen behind Carolina 21-7.
Waiting! It's hot!
On 3rd down and 10. Here comes a flag. Looked like the Bucs jumped again, and Dalton is scrambling to get rid of it. That's the 3rd or 4th time.
Yeah, Mark Duffner is not going to be happy with his defensive line. Andy Dalton is just killing him on the hard count.
And in key spots to keep drives going.
Offside. Defense. 5-yard penalty. Remains 3rd down.
Well, this is why I wanted to see this defense take the next step. You can see where they have to come from. I mean, they are last in 3 of the 4 big categories that are out there. And really the one that jumps out at you, we showed you earlier, the red zone TD percentage. That's points. Some people will say, yeah, they're 29th in yards, but that's yards. It's all about points in the NFL. Well, they're last in points once you get into the red zone. So a lot of work for this group to do. They can't be giving the offense 5 yards free this many times.
On 3rd down and 5, the sun breaks through. The pass is caught right at the sticks by Alex Erickson. And the spot will determine. And that is a 1st down.
Classic example right there of why you can't have those neutral zone infractions. The play call has changed.
He's going to challenge.
Cutter's going to challenge
the spot. And it was close. We'll take another look, just as the officials will. First challenge of this game. Bucs only have.
The Tampa Bay coach is challenging the ruling on the field.
Bucs only have 2 timeouts. They used 1 earlier. Dirk Cutter is saying, I was standing right there. I saw it.
Just a quick out route right there. And you can see Dirk Cutter, I mean, he was right at that yellow marker, so he's got a great view of where that ball was spotted and where he thinks it should have been spotted.
And where the ball landed on the ground, and it looked like it was the inside of that white, which is the line, 35-yard line, not the yellow. The yellow is just kind of an unofficial guide. They use the chain link, obviously, to measure. We have our rules analyst, Dean Blandino, watching closely. Spots are always difficult, though, and unless you have a clear view.
Yeah, not only a clear view, but a clear marker that you can kind of gauge that on. And we had 2 of them last week in our game last week. I mean, like back-to-back, each team won. Baltimore won 1, and then the Saints won 1.
Ruled on the field as a 1st down, challenged by the Bucs on 3rd and 5.
Coming out of your inside spot, just a quick little release on the flat route. He pushed it beyond, catches it. And I agree with you, Chris. It's right on that white line, so now it's just a question of what they see.
All right, Dean Blandino used to do this for the NFL. Now he does it for Fox. And what do you think, Dean, as we bring him in from Los Angeles?
Like you said, these are tough to change. You do have a big line. I just don't think we can definitively say that the ball didn't make the 35. It looks like it's right there. And it would have to be clear-cut to move it behind the line.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. It'll be a 1st down for Cincinnati. Tampa Bay is charged with their 2nd timeout of the half.
All right, thank you, Dean Blandino. Impeccable timing, just as Alex Kemp made the call. That last replay showed it looked like the ball did land on the inside, but not enough to overturn. They tend to stay more with the calls on the field. And the Bucs offside again hurt him. from a 3rd and 10 to a 3rd and 5, and now a first down. So the Bengals keep the ball, and the Bucs lose a timeout.
Set. Green 18. Hands up.
Mixon to the 40-yard line, and the clock runs.
Well, you know you're having a good day running the football when your running back really doesn't have to change direction. I mean, they're allowing Joe Mixon to get on this line, and when you're running that kind of that stretch play, it's a line. You want to get him on that line, and as a defense, you're trying to force him to deviate from that. And Mark Duffner's group right now is not able to close down these running lanes.
Mixon again. There's a lot of running room. He's got a first down. He's loose down the middle of the field. Mixon dancing through Buccaneers and gets all the way down to the 16-yard line. Isaiah Johnson eventually brought him down.
And this is when it's tough. When you can run a zone play and then you can also come back and run man. Watch this block right here by Bobby Hart. No, it was actually Alex Redner. Or no, that's holy cow. We're all the way inside to the center. Trey Hopkins. My fault, people. It was a great job by your center pulling out. I thought it was 68 Bobby Hart, but he comes out and he seals the inside.
And Hopkins is playing for Billy Price, the center who's injured. Mark Walden comes in after a 43-yard run for Mixon. He's over 100 yards rushing, and we have a timeout by the Bengals. Mixon, the second-year running back from Oklahoma, has taken control of this game.
And you're seeing some of these plays that Marvin Lewis talked to us about with Andy Dalton, whether it's a zone read, whether it's that run pass option type play that's becoming, you know, exciting in the NFL now. Marvin wanted Andy to pull the ball and give it to Joe. Give it to Joe. You know, let's not throw it. Let's not do the other things. If it's a 50-50 decision and you're not clear, if it's not an obvious choice, give Joe the ball. Let's come out. Let's establish the running game. And that's been a huge part here in the first half for the Bengals.
I think the phrasing from Marvin Lewis as he smiled was, I trust Andy Dalton, and sometimes too much when you have a guy like Mixon. Again, Bernard has been out. They've really missed him, but Mixon picking up the slack. 2-touchdown day, averaging 8 yards a carry. He's also caught a couple of passes. So what Marvin Lewis wanted, he's getting from his quarterback and his running back. Dalton for the end zone at A.J. Green. And A.J. Green has a touchdown. Ruled that. He came down with the ball and the feet in. At least that's the way it looked at first glance.
They just have so much confidence in this connection. This is pretty good coverage by Carlton Davis. It's just a really well thrown ball, and the trust that's there to go up and get it. It's a contested catch. And you look at Carlton Davis, he's right there. The only thing he doesn't do is get his head around. His arm gets up late. But look at him fighting, trying to dislodge that possession right there. That's just a great job by A.J. Green.
And Davis, a guy playing with great confidence, the rookie coming off his best game of his rookie season. He's about 6'1", 6'2", and you got A.J. Green who's 6'4". He fought with him, but the veteran with his 63rd career touchdown catch, and reviewing the scoring play to confirm it before he takes the helmet off to smile. And a ball thrown right where it had to be. By the way, that run of 43 yards by Mixon to set this up was a career long for Joe Mixon. He's got the football. There's 1, 2. The official right there. It has been confirmed. The extra point. Bullock. And he missed it. His first miss of this season. A miss for each kicker today when it comes to extra points.
At least you said it after this time. He didn't say before.
I'm not jinxing it.
Poor Justin Tucker
the
from last week.
The whole. I know it is windy down there. It's swirling. The flag only is a partial indicator. That's frustrating for kickers and for quarterbacks. But the good news for the Bengals, they expand their lead. A.J. Green, his 63rd career touchdown catch. It ties him with Carl Pickens for second on the Bengals all-time list. Chad Johnson is first with 66 Bengal touchdown grabs. Tyler Boyd has been the numbers guy for the most part, but that one was a good-looking play for Cincinnati to get in the end zone.
But that's a dynamic you have to have. You've got to have that complementary number 2 guy that is very, very talented, and that's what Tyler Boyd is for this team. And as they kind of move out of that 3 tight end personnel grouping, and you've got Alex Erickson to go along with those 2 guys, that's a pretty nice group for a 3 wide receiver personnel set.
This kick will go out of bounds, and that'll bring out the penalty flag and push the ball upfield. The Bucs will have great starting position here, trailing by 21 with 1 timeout. They'll have the 2-minute warning.
Kickoff out of bounds. Kicking team number 4. Ball is placed at the 40-yard line. First down, Tampa.
Tampa Bay, they're number 1 in passing yards. We said that coming in, and they've picked up some yardage there, but they, as a team, have thrown 13 interceptions. That's the most in the NFL.
And there's what you were talking about, Chris, right there. That's a pretty good group of 3 right there. And at some point, A.J. Green's going to be the franchise leader.
And what a nice guy to talk to. Not your typical diva-sounding receiver. We're able to catch up with A.J. Green. There's a delay here. Jacquizz Rodgers, big hole. And a flag comes in as he gets to the 47-yard line of Cincinnati.
Holding. Offense number 62. 10-yard penalty. Still first down.
Evan Smith, who's primarily a center, who's working at some right guard because Caleb Benenoch hasn't exactly blown the doors off the coaching staff in that area. Call for the infraction. It negates the Buccaneers' best running play of the day. Having to play catch up here. Winston 8 out of 13. Touchdown and 2 picks. On 1st and 16, middle of the field is open, and falling across the 46 is O.J. Howard. With 1 timeout, the Bucs will hustle, but unlikely to get the snap off before the 2-minute warning. And that's where we are before the half. Cincinnati in control. Plenty of offense on display at Paul Brown Stadium. I don't want to be Captain Obvious with the Bengals with a sizable lead. The Bucs are going to have to be aggressive here. And on the piece of halftime report, you'll get highlights from all the action going on, including the Panthers leading against the Ravens and the Steelers leading against Cleveland, as Winston is going to get sacked by Carlos Dunlap, who just got a hold of him and wouldn't let it go.
Carlos Dunlap coming from the near side. Long arms, long legs, good push inside. They're doing a nice job on this controlled rush. They've got all the lanes covered. Really nowhere for Jameis to go when he pulls that ball down.
5-yard loss. Second sack of the game for the Bengals. Winston with time. And open is Godwin, who's got a first down at the 48 of Cincinnati. Chris Godwin, the second-year player from Penn State.
A nice job by Jacquizz Rodgers on that, picking up the blitz when they added 1 guy to the rush.
Winston almost intercepted. 2 Bengals had Adam Humphries covered, including Darius Phillips, who almost had the 3rd Bengal interception of this game.
He really should have had it. I mean, there's too much traffic in that area. I mean, I don't understand what he sees from time to time. I mean, Sean Williams, even if Darius Phillips is not there, Sean Williams is in great position.
Winston will turn 25 years old, 25 in January, in his 4th season, with time to throw again, and Evans incomplete. And now it's going to be 3rd down.
And there you've got an opportunity. You've got Mike Evans. That's going to be a huge play. I mean, it's critical to get points here. You've been down 21-0. Now it's 27-6. You know, something positive to go into halftime with.
And also keep the ball away from Cincinnati. They've been running over this Buccaneer defense. An early stop, but after that, forget it.
Mike 56, rip.
Jameis Winston for Evans. He's got him. And Evans has a catch inside the 20 and goes out of bounds to stop the clock. That's a good-looking play for Tampa Bay.
This is so well done. I mean, they blitz on this play, so you've got true one-on-one. Great release off the line. Real physical release by Mike Evans to get the separation from Drake Kirkpatrick. And a great throw by Jameis Winston. That's the frustrating part.
Pick up a 29 yards. One timeout. Winston's throw high and off the hands of Evans, who wasn't quite ready. It was a tough catch. Would have been a tough catch.
It's the consistency, that we've seen just here on this drive. We earlier the throw that Darius Phillips should intercept, and then he misses Mike Evans wide open. Then he makes a spectacular throw to him in one-on-one coverage.
When you think of the great quarterbacks, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Roethlisberger, it is about consistent throws, not just game to game, but from play to play.
Liz.
Winston. Jaquiz Rodgers tries to put a move on, but he should have got out of bounds. And the clock will run unless they use their last timeout. And that's what the Bucs are going to do.
A big snap here on third down. Are you trying to extend this and possibly get a touchdown instead of settling for a field goal? So get that timeout called.
Winston nearing the 200-yard passing mark with a touchdown and the 2 interceptions.
And you can see right now they're still shuffling a little bit of personnel in. So making sure they've got the right play called here. So sometimes people look at that. You want to keep that one timeout left, keep that middle of the field open if you're going to press this down inside 10 seconds. But looks like a good decision there to make sure they've got the exact right personnel and play call.
All the highlights coming up. These a halftime report. The Broncos and Chiefs facing off. Later, it's the Packers and Rams on Fox. The only undefeated team in the NFL, the Rams, taking on Aaron Rodgers and the Pack, and then the World Series. 3rd and 5.
Lion.
Winston throws to Adam Humphries, who gets the first down. They're going to have to spike it to stop the clock with no timeouts. And the clock running. It's a nifty play by Winston, showing he could get himself in position. No spike, end zone throw. And there is no flag in the area of Mike Evans.
Yeah, they've got plenty of time to get 2 more plays off here on 2nd and 3rd down before they'd have to take that field goal.
I think Dirk Cutter thought that Drake Kirkpatrick was pushing Mike Evans and that the officials missed it. But there was no call.
Hey, we gotta go. Rip.
These passes need to be into the end zone, just to make sure you don't get tackled short.
Time for Jameis Winston, who throws and incomplete. Deshaun Jackson got his hands on it. It's 3rd and goal with 11 seconds.
Last week at the end of the game with that field goal situation going on, Jameis Winston took 2 sacks, almost pushed him out of field goal range before the big play to Deshaun Jackson to get him back in the ring. He's got to understand right now that he cannot take a sack on this play and forfeit these points.
Rookie Jesse Bates keeping the ball away from Deshaun Jackson on that previous play.
Rip.
Jameis Winston for Mike Evans and overthrows everybody. And it's 4th down with 6 seconds remain, and Bucs will try and get 3. Chandler Catanzaro, 8 out of 10 this year in the field goal department. He's already missed an extra point today. From 25 yards away, And he kicks it through. That's less than the closer distance, I should say, than the extra point of 33 yards. So it's now 27-9. Buccaneers will get the football, or at least the Bengals will be kicking off to the Buccaneers to start the second half. Laura?
And I want to talk about the second half, what's going to probably go on wind-wise. You mentioned it earlier, Chris. My ears perked up. It's really gusty down here. It's deceivingly so. It's one of those funky stadiums. The wind comes from the southwest corner. It hits the bank of the stadium and ricochets. What special teams coach Darren Simmons told me of the Bengals, what you feel on the field, it's the opposite of what's going on. Look at the flag and assume the opposite. It's one of those stadiums. And what he told me as I was watching kickers warm up earlier, he said pregame means nothing. The halftime warm-up will mean everything as the wind picks up in the second half, Chris.
There was rain earlier. Now the sun is out, and the wind warning that the weather authority sent out is for later in the day, where the gusts could get much higher. But you saw the wind whipping on that flag, and the Bucs will get the first chance of the second half on offense as Alex Erickson is knocked down right away to end the half. Bengals with a 27-9 lead. And let's look at the play of the first half presented by DirecTV. More for your thing. That's our thing. Andy Dalton, one of his 2 touchdown throws. A.J. Green had this one. Joe Mixon also with 2 touchdown runs. Bengals leading the Bucs here in Cincy. Let's head to Los Angeles and the gang for the Visa halftime report.
I think, Laura talked about it at the top. We tend to derail ourselves in situations when we get to the cusp of getting beyond 500 and starting to build on something, and that's exactly what happened to him in the first half.
It's been a long time since this Buccaneer franchise has seen the playoffs. Some nice dancing around by Deshaun Jackson, who had a big touchdown catch for Tampa Bay, and he's just short of the 30. Laura?
I'm going to start with Marvin Lewis, who talked about how he wants to mix the run game and the pass game. He said they're going to gang up on the run game. We need to make the throws when we need to. Defensively, keep up the pressure, squeeze the pocket around Jameis. As for Jameis, Dirk Cutter said what you guys have been saying the whole first half. Every play doesn't have to be perfect. If it's not there, cut our losses and get us to the next play.
Thank you. And the Bengal defense was aware of that coming in as Winston fires and incomplete. The sun is shining now after some rain a little bit earlier, and temperatures in the 50s. And winds swirling here. Yeah, the Bengal defensive players, they were polite about it, but said if we do certain things, Jameis tries to do a lot, and will usually give us an opportunity for some takeaways.
And a lot of times people will say, I'd rather have to pull a guy back than to push him forward. He's not aggressive down the field. He's always checking, taking the easy way route. You can see what happens sometimes when you've got a guy who's ultra competitive and very aggressive in his style. It's tough to pull him back and get him into that comfort zone.
On a 3rd and 6 from the pocket. That's a good catch by Cameron Brate, who gets the first down up across the 43-yard line. Brate has made the most of his catches. He came in with 10 grabs, producing 3 touchdowns. One of the tight end spots, O.J. Howard had a grab earlier. Winston putting up passing yards has not been a problem for him or the Bucs.
Ready! Blue ready! What's up?
Airing it out deep. Deshaun Jackson runs toward the ball, but Jesse Bates kept him from getting to it. Had that throw been a little more up and over, he could have run under it.
Well, it was good coverage because, you get it into the middle of the field. A lot of times you're going to want to do that. Again, it's the speed of Deshaun Jackson, presses out. There's your safety help in the middle of the field, and just a little contact there with Jesse Bates at the end, but thought it was played well defensively. They're not going to let him get beyond him like they did in the first half.
Bates did a good job of making a clean play on 2nd and 10 now. Peyton Barber on a delay handoff. Here's a flag. He gets to midfield.
That's been another one. There has been a lot of penalties, but when Tampa has got him, if this is on Tampa Bay, they've just come at terrible times.
Offense, number 74. 10-yard penalty. Still 2nd down.
Ali Marpet called for that. You're right, Darryl. It's knocked out 2 really good runs, and they've also had some defensive penalties.
And you're trying to stack some good runs on top of each other, and it's one of the things that that Dirk Cutter talked to us about. You know, these guys, you know, the great running backs, they want to be fed the ball, but to be able to do that, you've got to have confidence that it's going to be an efficient run game, and they have been at times today, but the penalties have brought them back.
So now 2 downs to get 20 yards. Jameis Winston, incomplete. There's a flag. He was trying to go to Mike Evans, and Drake or Patrick looked like he was all over him.
Pass interference. Defense, number 27. Ball is placed at the spot of the foul. Automatic first down, Tampa.
Drake Kirkpatrick was excited about this matchup today. There they are at the bottom of the screen. Mike Evans is a big target. He's a tough, physical, wide receiver, talking about 6'5", 230. And Drake Kirkpatrick said the way you take that away, that catch radius is tight coverage. Just a little too tight on that last one.
Trouble for Winston. And he's sacked inside the Tampa Bay 40. Rolled right into the pressure of Adolphus Washington, Cincinnati native who played for the Buckeyes.
Well, this play has not been successful during the course of the game. It's your outside defender, and he's doing his job. It actually comes from the inside there, Adolphus Washington up the field. So you've got a little twist going on. Your end slides underneath, your tackle comes up the field and has the contain. They've played the boot well today. So that would be one of the things for Todd Monken that I'd kind of shy away from a little bit at this point because of the way the Bengals are playing it.
And the Bengals have applied plenty of pressure on Winston all day. Overcame a 2nd and 20 previously. Now 2nd and 18 underneath at the 45. Justin Watson, the rookie from Penn, makes that catch to pick up a few. Dirk Cutter, who goes back a long way with Marvin Lewis. Friends from, well, he was in high school and back at Idaho State, where his father was a coach, and they stayed in close touch. And in each other's weddings. Still enjoy Thanksgiving once in a while, or they did in the old days. Not this week. Not this week or this year. Winston, and what a catch! Adam Humphries, who's only 5'11", extended his arms, and that's a first down at the 40 of Cincinnati.
This is an outstanding catch by Adam Humphries. This ball gets on him quick, too, so as soon as he snaps around, it's there and it's high. That is outstanding.
And Winston delivering the perfect spiral, even though that may have been tipped. That cuts through any kind of wind here in Cincinnati. A gain of 15.
Blue lady, legs up.
Good protection. And O.J. Howard to the 20. And another first down. Overcoming penalties. Bucs are moving the football.
Yeah, and that's the great point, Chris, is overcoming those penalties, putting themselves in tough down and distance situations. But how do you lose O.J. Howard that wide open right in the middle of the field?
He's 6'6", first rounder from Alabama in his second season. His third catch of this game.
Go.
52 to Mike.
Winston is going to keep it and then go down around the 17-yard line. Sam Hubbard eventually brought him down for Cincinnati.
He is always looking to throw when he's scrambling, and we touched on that with Ryan Fitzpatrick earlier in that first half about, when you see it, if it is man coverage and you've got the defenders with their backs to you and you make that decision to run, just take it. And I think he's still adjusting to it. I think he still wants to throw the ball down the field, but that was one of the effective things that Ryan Fitzpatrick does when he scrambles. It really becomes like a quarterback draw.
On second down, 7.
Line.
Buccaneers have trailed the entire game. It's their first possession of the second half. Winston's throw wide open is Humphries, and he's inside the 5 and fighting to the goal line. Touchdown, Buccaneers! What persistence by Adam Humphries.
Well, they did a nice job in the first half with their tackling. But this is not a good job right here. They got a lot of Bengal defenders around, and Adam Humphries is able to spin and break these tackles. And let's see if that knee goes down before he breaks the plane.
Ruled a touchdown. You see the official, all scoring plays to be confirmed once they take a closer look. The idea of when it's this magnitude, you got to get it right.
Previous play is under review. Timeout.
And it looked like what you pointed out, Darryl, that knee, see where the ball is, doesn't quite break the plane. This one might come back.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance, handing off big savings to you.
Official rule, they take a look, not a touchdown. They're saying it's spotted inside the 1.
Yeah, just inside 1. You can see the knee down. He has not broke the plane of the goal line.
Peyton Barber in the backfield for Jameis Winston. Barber leaps into the end zone. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. And first rushing touchdown for a guy with 2 great football names in Peyton Barber.
Really nice drive by the Buccaneers to open this. Chris, you mentioned the fact that they had to come over or overcome some tough down and distance situations because of the penalties. Again, that running game, during the course of the first half was pretty effective, and they've got it moving here again in the second half to start.
Extra point for Catanzaro. Missed one in the first half, made a field goal, and this extra point is adventurous, but it's through, and the Bengal lead is down to 11. We'll continue here in 30 seconds. Just did get through.
As you pointed out, it's an adventure every time they tee it up for a field goal or an extra point in Tampa Bay.
Add to that, as head coach Dirk Cutter said for the Bucs, their first true outdoor weather test in a game this year.
And you heard Laura's report at the end of the first half, how difficult this was going to be, how important that pre-game before the start of the second half to find out how that wind had shifted from the first half.
You can see that it has blown the football off or knocked the ball off the kicking tee as Catanzaro is ready to boot it to Alex Erickson, who came in averaging over 31 yards a kickoff return when given the chance. As somebody may have to hold that, they get a couple of opportunities here. Jameis Winston on that drive, wind and all, penalties and all, 5 out of 7, 69 yards, and got him close on the pass to Adam Humphries, who had some big catches. Humphries a couple of grab, and then Peyton Barber scores. So with some help from Ryan Smith holding the ball, Catanzaro drives Erickson back, and it'll be a touchback out to the 25-yard line. Laura?
As we get ready for the Bengals offense to come out, they will be without left guard Clint Bowling, who is out with a back injury. Defensively, the Bengals also taking a hit. The defensive line, Carl Lawson, done for the day as well with a knee injury.
Thank you very much. And protecting now an 11-point lead. They were very aggressive going early on 4th down in this game, as were the Buccaneers. 6 possessions in the first half, 4 touchdowns, 1 punt, and once they were stopped on downs. Dalton, incomplete. Carissa has a game break. What's going on?
Well, Chris, so the Chiefs beat the Bengals last week, and now they're beating up on the Broncos. Patrick Mahomes to Kareem Hunt, and doing what Kareem Hunt does. Mahomes' 26th touchdown of the season. Casey leading this one 30-14. Chris?
All right, thank you. There were members of the Bengals defense telling us they hadn't seen speed like that when they ran into KC ever in this game. As you look at some of the offensive numbers that Cincinnati has put up and the adjustment on Mixon, who had a terrific first half. In fact, 114 yards equaling a career high for him already as he adds to that on that carry.
And that really was the difference in the first half for this Bengals offense. They've been able to move the ball through the air, but we talked about it. They really needed to find that balance, get Joe Mixon involved in it. He's a very good running back. Mark Duffner, the defensive coordinator for Tampa, was concerned about him.
Third down 8. Dalton's throw is knocked away, and an excellent defensive play. Maybe could have had an interception. Andrew Adams, who was signed as a free agent from Connecticut College. He was with the Giants briefly last year.
This is a nice job on the play because he's going to undercut it. Feels it right there. The out route goes to the side, and he undercuts C.J. Uzomah.
Remember this secondary lost Vernon Hargraves. They lost Chris Conte at one safety spot. The rookies Carlton Davis and M.J. Stewart pressed into more playing time as Humphreys takes the Huber punt and watches it sail out of bounds. Buccaneers get a defensive stop after scoring a touchdown on their last possession. What are they going to do this time? Darryl Johns to Chris Myers, and 8.5 of the third quarter. Buccaneers, last few times they've touched the football, they've been able to move in and score on this Bengal defense. Ronald Jones in the backfield with Winston.
5-0-57. Monday.
Blitz by the Bengals is picked up, and that's Mike Evans, who can't hold the football. A rare drop from the outstanding receiver.
And this is a big possession for this Cincinnati defense. It's a responsive league, and the Buccaneers did a great job. Both sides of the ball. Touchdown on their opening series. Defense forces a 3-and-out. This is a big series for Terrell Austin's group right here.
Quick snap. Peyton Barber stopped at the 32. It'll bring up third down. That Bengal defense playing without Darquez Dennard, Nick Vigil, who linebacker second on the team in tackles, and the always controversial Vontaze Burfict, the most fined player since 2002, and last week had maybe one of the worst games of his tumultuous career. Out with a hip injury. Marvin Lewis didn't want to talk about him, said it's not relevant when asked during the course of the week.
And here's another big area that they needed to improve on third downs. They've given up 7-11 to the Bucs offense today. The Bucs converting at 64% against the Bengals defense.
3rd and 7. Winston is going to run and get the first down. That commitment to making the run when he sees, as he called it, those running lanes, has improved and helped this offense.
A lot of times defenses are playing a certain style, and what they've noticed the last few weeks is a cover 2 man underneath. It's a 2-deep shell. This was just straight man coverage. That means everybody that's on a route has a defender that's tailing them, so their backs are to the quarterback. So once Jameis sees that that's man coverage in that situation, just tuck the ball and try and get that first down.
And we just mentioned Bengal injuries. Corner Drake Kirkpatrick is the player being checked on at the moment.
Game is sponsored by Cadillac and by Burger King. Get 10 crispy chicken nuggets for just $1 only at Burger King.
Drake Kirkpatrick celebrated a birthday this week. Frustrated having to head over to the sideline. Kivare Russell, third-year player from Notre Dame, number 20, comes into play corner.
Mike 52.
Sunday. Where we go?
First down. Winston. Incomplete. Deshaun Jackson was in the area.
Now, what has been going on today defensively? Drake Kirkpatrick has actually taken Mike Evans, kind of man-to-man, and traveled with him. William Jackson has done that with Deshaun Jackson. So now with Drake Kirkpatrick out, do you continue to do that with Kivare Russell in taking his spot? If you're going to, you want to add a little bit of help over there. Make sure you got a safety over top.
Kirkpatrick, the Bengals telling us, is an Achilles injury, listed as doubtful for the rest of the way. And they run with Peyton Barber, who just doesn't go down, and pushes across the 50 near a first down, maybe a yard or two short. That looked like a minimal gain, and he got a lot out of it.
When you can come out on first down and throw the football, it's the best passing down there is. It's usually a defensive look that you can anticipate, and then have the confidence in your offense to go out and run the ball on second down and put you in 3rd and short. That's awesome.
A yard, maybe a yard and a half on third down. And A first down for Peyton Barber. Hesitated, danced, and got through the hole. Time for a game break. Here's Carissa.
Thanks, Chris. So the Browns trailing 16-6 in the third when Baker Mayfield will find fellow rookie Antonio Callaway. This 1-yard score, extra point, no good. Browns trailing 16-12. Thank
you. And in that AFC North, Baltimore losing to Carolina from the NFC South, 27-7. Look at the standings where the Bengals are.
Hardy. Blue lady. What's up?
On first down, Winston fakes the run, sets to throw, and overthrows his third interception of this game. He had Cameron Brate open, and he threw it too high, and Jordan Evans has a Cincinnati takeaway. That is unbelievable. Dirk Cutter has to be frustrated. Third interception by Winston today.
Sponsored by Corona Extra. Find your beach.
Bengals take over on offense. Last time they went 3 and out from their own 39. Stuffing out a Tampa Bay drive with the pick. Joe Mixon. And some good tackling there by the Buccaneers.
Yeah, we talked about that being a big series for the Bengals defense. Let's give this interception to Andrew Billings, big 99. Look at him coming up the middle. He speeds up Jameis Winston. He throws quick. He throws off a bad platform, and it sails on him. Jordan Evans able to get that interception.
Winston said, I have to eliminate the turnovers, but I can't worry about them. I think the Buccaneers are worried about him. Dalton has it. Under pressure. Catch made, going out of bounds, Tyler Boyd. Short of the first down, but they pick up enough to make third manageable. Dalton nearing 200 yards passing, and Boyd 7 catches, over 120 yards receiving. Need about 2 to get the first.
Let's ball. Green 18. Hands up.
And they stop Joe Mixon. No gamble here.
Yeah, they want to go. You see Joe Mixon wants to go for it on fourth down, but
Kevin Huber comes out. He's a Cincinnati, went to McNicholas High School, went to the University of Cincinnati. He's been a Bengal for 10 years. He's as Cincinnati as Grater's ice cream. And ready to boot it for the Bengals and try and pin the Buccaneers deep.
What flavor?
Whatever you like, they're all good. And you had them all. You tried them all. Going to have a penalty here.
False start. Offense, number 29. 5-yard penalty. Still fourth down.
Tony McRae shouldn't hurt Kevin Huber too much in this situation as Humphreys is standing back at the 10. On the last scoring drive for the Buccaneers, Humphreys made a couple of big plays to set up the touchdown run. And a good punt, fair catch called for right at the 10. It'll be a long way for Jameis Winston and the Bucs, trailing by 11. Tonight, Game 5 of the World Series. Dodgers need a win and try to push it back to Boston, and the Red Sox looking to win their 4th World Series since 2004 from Dodger Stadium. Joe Buck, John Schmaltz on the call. After football on Fox and the Fox Sports app, and a lot going on in LA. Got the Rams at home with the Packers. Last night you had UCLA at home at USC. LeBron James of the Lakers playing. And the Kings are home today on the ice. Peyton Barber hesitates, nowhere to go there. Laura?
Peyton Barber's been carrying the load for the Bucs on the ground, but they've had such high hopes for Ronald Jones, getting him going. He will not be for the rest of the game. He has been ruled out with a hamstring injury.
That's unfortunate, thank you, because Sean Wilson, who had played earlier in the year, the rookie free agent, Laura, from Duke, is inactive today. So they're down to really 2 backs. They don't have a fullback. They use Alan Cross sometimes, a tight end, in that kind of H-back situation. So it's Jaquiz Rogers and Peyton Barber at running back. 2nd and 9 for Winston. Pressure coming. And he's going to get thrown down at the 10-yard line. Carlos Dunlap. Another Bengals sack.
And they've been able to do this without blitzing. You're just going with your down 4, so that means you've got 7 in coverage. And right now, Jameis Winston does not feel comfortable in the pocket. You wonder how Todd Monken feels about his play calling with the 3 interceptions already this game. Is he kind of backing some things out of there because he's not trusting the decision making of his quarterback right now?
52's the line. Line.
After the 5th sack by Cincinnati, 3rd and 10. Protection is good. The throw is not. His 4th interception of the game. It's an interception touchdown for Jesse Bates and the Bengals. And the Bengal defense posing after that work. A work of art and disaster for Winston and the Bucs offense. I mean, at some point, if you're Dirk Cutter, you have to think about going to Ryan Fitzpatrick here if you want to try and win this game.
Well, I just think for Jameis Winston's psyche right now, he's not seeing the field well. These are interceptions where you've got coverage.
Bullock the extra point. And it made it through. Jesse Bates, the rookie safety, with a 21-yard interception return for a touchdown.
He's right here. Now watch, you've got coverage at the line of scrimmage with Darius Phillips, but he does not see that safety drop in. I just don't. It's a little switch, Darius Phillips goes to the outside to double there. Jesse Bates is dropping down, but you've got to be able to see the field.
There's something going on here, Darryl, and this is a defense that was without Drake Kirkpatrick, who went out at corner, who had been doing an excellent job, and you should have been able to at least find an area somewhere in that defense. But the Bengals, after feeling embarrassed on Sunday night against Kansas City in their jungle, are making it tough on Jameis Winston. 3 interceptions, so he has now thrown 9 for the season in less than 4 games. In fact, his last 2 passes have been intercepted. And we'll see if Dirk Cutter goes to the veteran Ryan Fitzpatrick, who started the season 2-0 for Tampa Bay. Touchback out to the 25-yard line. And here comes Ryan Fitzpatrick. An NFL record with 3 straight 400-yard or more passing games. In Chicago, they had trouble. They lost to Pittsburgh on Monday night. That's when Winston came in relief after serving his 3-game suspension.
We were there week 1 down in New Orleans, and Ryan Fitzpatrick was absolutely outstanding. Followed that up. They knocked off the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles the next week. So, yeah, 2 of the tough games starting this season. Ryan Fitzpatrick was outstanding.
Once a Cincinnati Bengal, Fitzpatrick hands to Peyton Barber in his 14th season. Has played for the Rams, Bengals, Buffalo, Tennessee, Texans, Jets, Bucs. And expecting his 7th child in January. He and his wife adding to the family.
Here we go.
He picks it up, throws, and Evans kept his feet in, made the catch. A fingertip grab.
Good poise by Ryan Fitzpatrick there, picks it up. Drake Kirkpatrick sees it, kind of steps inside a little bit, and he's able to get it to the outside for the catch.
Kirkpatrick with the Achilles injury is back in the game, obviously. Where's Captain Obvious when you need him?
Yeah, well, you need to test and see how Drake Kirkpatrick is feeling right now.
And what a run from Peyton Barber. all the way to the 46 of Cincinnati. Now the defense of Cincinnati thinks, hey, there's a little bit of a threat, more of a threat in this passing game, so they open up holes for the run.
Well, this is just well done, and Peyton Barber just very subtle with his movements. Watch just the pace and the feel, and it's a big thing about running backs is patience to the point of attack, and then the burst and the acceleration through. That was really nice by Peyton.
A gain of 16 yards.
Here we go.
Ryan Fitzpatrick. Catch made. It's a first down at the 27-yard line. Perfect delivery to Chris Godwin.
And how good is it to have a guy like Ryan Fitzpatrick as your backup quarterback? I mean, to be able to step into this environment right now, your starting quarterback has been sacked 5 times. You know, you've watched that from the sideline. You're coming in cold, and you just start slinging it.
Well, he said even when the Bucs had that 2-0 start, I know this is Jameis Winston's team. I'm just taking over the reins until he returns. But that may be up for debate the rest of the way. Handoff. Peyton Barber, nowhere to go, shoved down at the 30. Third quarter winding down. Bucs got to within 11, but then another Winston interception, his third of the game, that resulted in a touchdown. And he has suffered 4 in this game as we have finished 3 quarters of the Bengals lead. Start of the fourth quarter, 34-16. Ryan Fitzpatrick has replaced the starter Jameis Winston. Buccaneers actually have more total offensive yards than the Bengals, 385 to 318, but they have suffered 4 interceptions. Ryan Fitzpatrick, as a flag goes down, he weaves his way inside the 15-yard line. Flag is back at the 30.
Holding. Offense, number 77. 10-yard penalty. Second down.
Right guard Caleb Benenoch.
And they've been all across that offensive line. Benenoch, Smith, Ali Marpet. You know, they've had a couple of big runs pulled back. That's a big scramble right there for Ryan Fitzpatrick. They got to get that offensive line cleaned up. That was supposed to be a potential strength for this team this season, and they have not played up to their billing.
They've invested second-round draft picks there in Smith and Marpet. Signed Ryan Jensen in the offseason, high-paid center. Now 2nd and 22. Jaquiz Rogers slips 1 tackle, but then other Bengals keep him from gaining. Preston Brown got there, and let's get another game break with Kurt.
Well, an air attack going on in Detroit. Russell Wilson has thrown for 3 touchdown passes. Matthew Stafford, 2. Both to Marvin Jones. Unfortunately, on the scoreboard, his team is still down by 2 touchdowns midway through the fourth quarter. Chris, Darrell, and Laura.
All right, thank you, Kurt. Seattle, after the win over in London against the Raiders that you saw on Fox after their bye week, come out strong on the road against the Lions.
Last 52! Last Monday!
3rd and 21 for Fitzpatrick. He's going to run and keep running. Gets a block, goes down the sideline, dives. Looks like he's just short of the first down marker. An 18-yard run from the 35-year-old veteran, and looks like instead of going for it,
no, you've got to score 3 times. So this is smart. You need all the points. You're 18, so you need 2 touchdowns with 2 two-point conversions to get you to 16, and then the field goal. So just take that field goal now. You've got to score 3 times.
A 38-yard try, passing up a 4th down and 2. Chandler Catanzaro got it. I wasn't sure, and I don't think he was either.
Tough to be sure.
Oh, yeah. Trick or treat on these kicks. My goodness. An early happy Halloween from us to you.
Today's game is sponsored by T-Mobile. Whether you're home or away, T-Mobile has you covered.
Ryan Fitzpatrick comes in, goes 3 out of 3. An impressive 18-yard run to set up a field goal to close the gap. Bucs trailing by 15 here in the fourth quarter and getting ready to kick off. Jameis Winston, who came in after consecutive starts of 350 passing yards on 276 with 4 interceptions. And this will be a touchback out to the 25-yard line. And I guess the tough decision for Dirk Cutter, you got a franchise quarterback trying to get in the groove. You give him every opportunity. At some point, he makes the change to Fitzpatrick to try and win this game. Could he have made that move a little earlier in this game?
I don't think so, because remember, 3 and 4 came on back-to-back throws. So I think after the third one, you're still going back out there. After that fourth one, you've got to make the change, and you can see what Ryan Fitzpatrick brings to this team. So the big question is now, people are going to talk about, well, what do we do moving forward? Moving forward right now is finishing this game out with 12:54 to go and try to get a win.
That's what the Bengals are trying to do and close this out. The adjustment by Mark Duffner's defense on Mixon has been outstanding here in the second half after he had over 100 rush yards in the first half. And for the Buccaneers, they knew coming in, or at least Jameis Winston did, the issue was turnovers and giving the ball away. And it was something that he didn't want to focus on, but everybody else did, because you can't win games like that. And yet the offense has produced over 400 yards of offense. Total offense. After a loss of 4, Dalton from the pocket, underneath. Tyler Boyd, good tackle right at the 27-yard line by Levante David, who leads the Bucs in tackles.
There's a big snap right now for this Tampa Bay defense. They force them into a 3rd and long situation. Can they get Cincinnati off the field, get Ryan Fitzpatrick back out there?
Coming up, a couple of Cal quarterbacks who have done good in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers playing at the Rams. Jared Goff leading the only undefeated team. It's coming up, part of our doubleheader, America's Game of the Week on Fox after this. Plenty of time for Dalton on 3rd down on the throw for Erickson. And let's see if they're going to call him out of bounds. There's a flag down back at the 15.
Holding. Offense, number 68. That penalty's declined. 4th down.
Erickson was out of bounds, so the Bucs defense, the adjustments made, force Cincinnati into a punting situation.
He's, Coach Duffner is still getting used to his personnel. It was interesting him talking to us. You've been around him as a linebacker coach, but now you're going to be in charge of offering them the opportunity to do stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how this defense grows, but that's a huge positive step right there with that 3 and out.
Something they've done each time in the second half. Cincinnati has had the ball. Waving everybody away. The ball takes a bounce and rolls to the 32 of Tampa Bay. Bucs down 2 scores. The Ohio River here in Cincinnati. A dejected Jameis Winston, a 4-interception game, and that's why he's looking on as Ryan Fitzpatrick leads the offense, who started the first 4 games for Dirk Cutter of this season. Still leads the NFL yards per pass play at 10.5. Just led the Bucs to a field goal. Just over 11 minutes to go. Dumps it off to O.J. Howard, who gets a first down. There's a flag down as he gets to midfield.
2 more.
And another flag comes in inside the 45. Nine penalties accepted on Tampa Bay today, 4 on Cincinnati.
And one could be on Cameron Braid. A little offensive pass interference. Might have started blocking downfield a little bit too quick. I don't know what the other 2 later flags were.
Maybe they're discussing whether.
There were 2 fouls on the play, both by the offense. Holding, number 69. That penalty's declined. Pass interference, number 84. That penalty's accepted 10 yards from the previous spot. Still first down.
And this is just the timing of the play gets kind of out of sync, and he's on the right-hand side of your screen. He's going downfield, on the route. And it's just the timing comes out, and you just got to be smart when you're doing these little screens that you can't engage. You can be next to your defender, but you can't make contact beyond 1 yard.
First down and 20 now. So instead of being at midfield, all the way back at the 22.
Monday.
A handoff to Peyton Barber. And gets up across the 26. Kurt Menefee has a game break.
All right, unlike Tampa, the rest of the NFC South pretty solid at quarterback, including this guy. Cam Newton, 2 touchdown passes, and that one running so far. And right now, they got it on cruise control against Baltimore. 8.5 left. Chris, Moose, and Laura.
Thanks, Kurt, and beating up on Baltimore. The Saints won their last weekend. Saints play a big game tonight against the Vikings. Panthers are winning.
Ran 50.
Bucs trailing here by 15. On 2nd and 14. Fitzpatrick protected deep. He's got Mike Evans all alone. Mike Evans is in for a Buccaneer score. Touchdown. Once referred to as Fitzmagic. And the Buccaneers are hoping for a little more of that. 72 yards.
There's Mike Evans on the outside. Watch, he's going to sell like he's going to the inside right there and then vertical. So you've got your eyes on him. And again, that's the second time we've seen the Cincinnati secondary allow the receiver to get even with them.
Fitzpatrick with his 12th touchdown pass of this season. He's only thrown 5 interceptions. And remember, hadn't started the last couple of games or today. And they line up for the extra point.
Well, I would say this is a great decision because, you know, you need a touchdown. You need 15 points, so 8 plus 7. Now, with the adventures in kicking in Tampa Bay, this is a coin toss. You want to go for 2 here or you want to, you know, kick it? You never know.
Catanzaro, who's missed 1 and had a couple that were close with this extra point. And that's close again.
They're
just
hugging
barely.
uprights.
All right. So now it's an 8-point game. I mentioned coming up on Fox, NFL coverage continuing America's Game of the Week. Jared Goff and Aaron Rodgers. Todd Gurley, the touchdowns. He's put up more touchdowns himself than 8 teams in the NFL individually. 49ers, Cardinals, some will see that. But the Coliseum will be rocking with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers against Jared Goff and the Rams. The only undefeated team are the Rams. Schedule gets tough for them as they lead in the NFC West. And a couple of Cal guys. Goff admiring what Rodgers has done beyond his college years. Stick around, that's coming up on Fox. And here, things have tightened up a bit. We knew these 2 teams could score. And with the benching of Jameis Winston, Ryan Fitzpatrick has Buck fans hopeful.
Well, it's not only the fact that Jameis made the mistakes and he's on the sideline now, and we talked about this. The most important thing is just getting back into this game, being competitive, and winning this game. Ryan Fitzpatrick comes on the field, and he is going to create a conversation that will go into next week about who the starter should be.
Catanzaro makes sure there is no return, so Dalton will come out to the 25-yard line. And the other part of this story is the Buccaneers' defensive adjustment, or the fact that Cincinnati on offense in the second half hasn't been able to do anything.
No, and this is very similar to one of their other really good games this season offensively against the Atlanta Falcons. Came out and had a great first half and then stumbled a lot in that second half and allowed the Falcons to get back into it and had to have that play right at the end to A.J. Green to win it.
Remember, the Bates interception, the 4th that Winston threw, was returned for a defensive touchdown. Dalton to throw, and he's on the move, and it's knocked down inside the 15-yard line by Jason Pierre-Paul.
You got to call your game. So you got to get these guys blocked up front.
And what an acquisition he was. He ties a Bucs record 6 straight games with a sack. The entertaining Simeon Rice of the Bucs has that mark. He leads the team in quarterback pressures as well, does JPP. Dalton's throw, hauled in by Mixon, who powers to the 24. It'll bring up 3rd down.
And they're moving Jason Pierre-Paul around a little bit in that defensive line to try and get that matchup. He was supposed to go at the right defensive end versus Cordy Glenn the majority of the time, but that was lined up at defensive left end. He had moved into tackle on that last snap, so they're trying to get Jason Pierre-Paul into a one-on-one situation.
Buccaneers once trailed by 21 points. Now they're within 8. Dalton facing a 3rd and 12. Needs to get to the 35 for a first down. Dalton pointing and running, and will be chased out of bounds, and the Bucs defense comes through again in the second half.
Had an opportunity for another sack. Andy Dalton does a good job of getting away, and Andrew Adams does a good job here. Here he is in coverage right here, but watch at the end of this. As Andy Dalton's running for the play, he's going to come off, but lay off right there. Don't give the official an opportunity to throw a flag.
Second half yardage, over 230 for the Buccaneers, 20 for the Bengals. Humphreys back to receive the punt. Bounces and rolls and rolls. And Huber gets a good roll down inside the 15, where the Buccaneer offense will take over. 4-3, 3-3. Bengals with the lead. Bucs with the football. Marvin Lewis encouraging his team. Dirk Cutter leaning on the veteran to rally his.
Back right! Back right!
Hold Oregon! Hold Oregon!
52's a mark!
From the 15-yard line, Peyton Barber gets a few. MJ Stewart injured on that special teams play and went to the locker room for the Bucs. And since Fitzpatrick came in, 2 series, gets a field goal, gets a touchdown.
Well, you know where the term Fitzmagic came from, right? The guy is unbelievable every time he steps in, and he adds a little energy to the offense, and all of a sudden Tampa Bay started to play good complementary football. And again, I do not know how the Cincinnati Bengals secondary allows Mike Evans to be 5 yards beyond everybody.
Down the sideline, there's DeSean Jackson, and some pushing and shoving going on. No flag. William Jackson running with DeSean Jackson.
And see right at the end of this, there's a little bit of contact. Let's see how William Jackson plays this 22. Gets in stride with him right there. He's got his eyes back, trying to play the ball. So I like the no call by the officials.
Third down and 5 from inside the Tampa Bay 20. Fitzpatrick 4 out of 5, over 100 yards and a touchdown. Looks like we're going to have a timeout. And the Buccaneers use it. Daryl Johnston, Chris Myers enjoying an entertaining game with a couple of teams loaded with offensive talent. And look, if you're Dirk Cutter and you have the receivers that they have and the tight ends you talked about, you need somebody that's going to get them the football. Made the decision in this game after Winston's 4th interception to go with Fitzpatrick. And so far it looks pretty good.
Well, you know, I think last week when you looked at those interceptions, and Dirk Cutter talked about this, one he was going to put on Jameis Winston, one he actually put on one of the receivers, ran the wrong route, brought a defender into that. The 4 he's had today, I think they're all going to be on Jameis Winston, so that's going to be the issue. Sometimes it's somebody else's responsibility, and that's why it happened, but it's going to be hard for Jameis not to shoulder all 4 of those.
And Dirk Cutter defended Winston, saying there's 3 or 4 decisions he's got to make in a game that'll affect the outcome of the game. They haven't been good ones today. Thus Fitzpatrick to DeSean Jackson, but he's not going to get the first down. And the Bengal defense, with Drake Kirkpatrick overcoming that Achilles, gets the stop.
And that's one of the situations that Jameis is going to have to learn. Just what Ryan Fitzpatrick did there. He threw it short of the distance necessary for the first down, but he threw it to DeSean Jackson. You don't know what DeSean Jackson is going to do. He could break a tackle, get the yards necessary for the first down, but he didn't force the ball into an area where it shouldn't go.
He didn't turn it over. Brian Anger punting. Alex Erickson backs up to the 20, inside the 20 of Cincinnati, and splits upfield to the 30 before being brought down by a couple of Buccaneers on special teams. What a first half from Joe Mixon when Marvin Lewis emphasized to get our offense going, we need to get him going. The second-year running back, over 100 yards rushing, a couple of touchdowns, and he's caught 3 passes in the game.
Well, they need to get him going again here in the fourth quarter, because that's when you need to run the football effectively. That's when you're a good running team, when you run the football when everybody knows you are trying to. And you can look at the production right there. They have not been able to get Joe Mixon on track here in the second half.
And I don't think the Bengal offense has been conservative in the second half, Darryl. I just think the Buccaneer defense has made it difficult on them trying to get first downs. There's a reverse of field by Mixon, who makes something happen there, a lot on his own to get to the 35.
No, the Bucs defense has played well, and they're making strides. But the big thing is there's no rhythm to this offense, and there's no rhythm because they're not converting first downs.
Buccaneers have not had a takeaway today. They only have as a defense of the act of 1 interception this season, in this their 7th game. Mark Walton, the rookie running back, drafted the 4th round, comes in to the Bengal backfield.
Set. Hands up.
Dalton fakes being chased by Vita Vea, completes the pass, and short of the first down is Matt Wangle, one of the reserve tight ends.
Good hustle by Levante David to get over to that side of the field and put the hit on that keeps him from getting the yards necessary for the first down.
And MJ Stewart, I mentioned he was hurt, the rookie from North Carolina, that special teams play. He is out for the remainder of this game. An already thin secondary for Tampa Bay on 3rd down and 1. Extra lineman comes in for the Bengals.
Set. B-18. Hands up.
Walton surges forward and gets the first down. Let's get a game break and check in with Carissa.
Thanks, Chris. So the Giants had just cut the Redskins lead 13-6 when Alex Smith hands it off to Adrian Peterson, the 12-year vet, going 64 yards, his 2nd touchdown of the day. He's got his team up 20-6. Chris?
Always inspiring to see a guy like that still running and running with success.
It's unbelievable. I mean, that's unbelievable. Great job. Very happy for Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, at age 36, of course, 35-year-old Ryan Fitzpatrick trying to lead the Bucs as Dalton hands to Mixon, who slips a tackle and gets into Buccaneer territory at the 48-yard line.
So it doesn't have to be blocked perfect up front. Right now, Joe Mixon is running really well. It's not necessarily clean running lanes, but just watch his effort here. The short steps back inside, good balance, good forward lean.
9-yard pickup, 2nd and 1, and the clock continues to run. And Mixon has got his group back here in the second half.
Set. B-18. There's a hot.
There's a flag down, and pass is caught. Let's see, they're going to rule him inbounds. Yes, it's A.J. Green. Check that flag. Looked like the Bucs, who have had numerous offside calls on the defense.
Offside. Defense, number 90. That penalty is declined. The result of the play is a first down for Cincinnati.
That was their 5th, even though it wasn't accepted. It was still a nice play to A.J. Green.
Yeah, Andy Dalton's done a great job with the hard count, and you get that extra free snap here on the outside, and it's just that little stop fade on the back shoulder.
Dalton is over 230 passing yards and a first down at the 33 of the Bucs. Just over 3.5 to go here in the 4th quarter. Tough running, knocked back to the 35 is Mixon.
And we talk about quarterbacks not taking sacks. Also, as a running back, understand that you're right on that kind of fringe of going for that long field goal in this situation. That would make it a 2-possession game. So you've got to be responsible about what you're doing and not losing yards.
A loss of 1 on that last play. And the Buccaneers use a timeout. They'll have 1 remaining with Darryl Johnston, Laura Oakman on the field. I'm Chris Myers. Nice to have you watching from Cincinnati. Jameis Winston, who started threw a touchdown but suffered 4 interceptions. The last returned for a touchdown. So Dirk Cutter brings in the veteran Ryan Fitzpatrick, who leads the Bucs to points and has tightened the game up. At one time they were down by 21. Now it's an 8-point difference. But the Bengals on this last drive, after some Buccaneer defensive adjustments, have used the clock and marched all the way to the 35 of Tampa Bay. On 2nd and 11. Dalton with time. Trying to work his way out, and he's sacked at the 40. Jason Pierre-Paul, his 2nd sack of the game.
Now that is huge. I mean, to take back-to-back negative plays in this situation by this Bengals offense.
And keeping them out of possible field goal range. The Buccaneers, Darryl, used their last timeout after a loss on that. Now it's 3rd and 16. A field goal, if Cincinnati were to get nothing under windy conditions, would be 50+. We've already seen missed extra points in this game. And then Cincinnati would have to play that field position game. Welcoming new audiences here. Those who watch the Seahawks defeat the Lions 28-14. Bengals, a big first half, trying to hang on here against the Bucs, who have rallied with Ryan Fitzpatrick off the bench. For the benched Jameis Winston. Andy Dalton with time with a screen and dropped. Throw was a little high, but Mixon didn't bring it down. He's had a heck of a game, but a big miss there.
Well, it was a really nice series all the way to the 35-yard line. 1st and 10 at the 35-yard line. A negative run by Joe Mixon, a sack by Andy Dalton, and a poorly executed screen.
And the decision by Marvin Lewis to say, hey, I'm going to use the punter here, Kevin Huber, instead of try a field goal that would be in the range of 58 after the Bucs defense pushed him back. Certainly understandable with an 8-point lead. Huber's high kick. Fair catch. Humphreys inside the 13-yard line where the Bucs offense will take over. And if you missed it earlier, Jameis Winston, his first interception, his 2nd interception, his 3rd, and the 4th, the most damaging, returned by the rookie Jesse Bates for a touchdown.
And all those really on Jameis. Even that 2nd one that got deflected was being thrown into an area on the field where it was likely to be intercepted anyway. So he continues to talk about the importance of possessions and not turning the ball over, but continues to have afternoons like he had today.
4th possession for Fitzpatrick running this offense. They've scored on 2 of the previous 3. Complete to Jaquiz Rogers. Gets close to a first down across the 21-yard line. Buccaneers are out of timeouts. They'll have the 2-minute warning. They need a touchdown and a 2-point conversion to force the tie. After a gain of 9, throw a little behind Chris Godwin. It'll be 3rd and a yard.
Needed to come to the right side of the formation that time. That was where the coverage was favorable for what the play design was. Had O.J. Howard open on the sideline in the flat.
Bengal defense with 4 takeaways. Hoping for a stop here. Fitzpatrick protected well. Sideline throw for Evans. He makes the catch, and he was being harassed all the way, and here come the flags. William Jackson was on him.
Trey Kirkpatrick actually was working this man situation here earlier in the game. They moved William Jackson over there now. See the contact before the ball arrives.
Defense number 22. That penalty is declined. The result of the play is a first down for Tampa Bay.
That's a terrific catch by Mike Evans, who had the long touchdown catch from Ryan Fitzpatrick when he came in after
Mike 50.
They got points on a field goal.
Mike on one, rip! Monday!
Gain of 27 on the last play. Fitzpatrick with time. Adam Humphries goes out of bounds. Fitzpatrick looks sharp.
He really does. I mean, it seems like they've got plenty of time right here, right now. And Mike Evans coming up limping. That'd be a big loss for this Bucs team.
Ronald Jones ruled out. One of the running backs who also can be a receiver is now Mike Evans, reaching for his left knee or lower leg area.
Is one of the things that Jameis talked to us about, the matchups, getting to that third and fourth wide receiver with Mike Evans out. Now they can push the coverage down, so the Bengals get better matchups going down that ladder.
Rookie Justin Watson is in at receiver. Fitzpatrick incomplete, a low throw that could have been the 5th Bengal interception. Sean Williams already has one of them.
We'll go back and see what happened to Mike Evans on that previous play. And working against Drake Kirkpatrick this time. Very physical out there as they're working around, and hopefully just knock knees a little bit.
So Humphries and Godwin receivers along with Deshaun Jackson, as Evans is out for the moment. Fitzpatrick's throw underneath to Jacquizz Rodgers, who slips a tackle and dives down to the 25 near another Buck first down as we near the 2-minute warning.
It's one of the areas they had to clean up after the game last week against Kansas City. They've done a nice job with the tackling, but not right there.
He got the first down. The Bucs need every moment here without a timeout, so they should try and snap before the 2-minute warning, and Fitzpatrick, the veteran, does. And the quick throw to Deshaun Jackson gets out of bounds as we have hit the 2-minute mark. Bengals with the lead, up by 8, but the veteran Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Bucs are on the move with under 2 to go.
Today's game is sponsored by AARP. Take on today with AARP. Real possibilities.
Bengal defense seeing double here in Cincinnati as Fitzpatrick has the Bucs knocking on the door on 2nd and 3.
Go down! Wait, wide! Lion, Lion, Lion!
Blitz. Fitzpatrick gets away for a moment and then goes down. Was trying to escape after evading the initial rusher. That's 3rd down.
Good job right up the middle. A good delayed blitz by Preston Brown. Little cross stunt right there. Caleb Benenoch late recognizing it.
He got back to the line of scrimmage. They need 3 for a first down. Handling the snap is Ryan Fitzpatrick. Overthrows everybody, and it's 4th and 3. Now, worth mentioning, and we saw them have success earlier in this game on 4th down. The Buccaneers are the only team currently in the NFL that are perfect on 4th down tries. They've attempted it 5 times and converted 5, including a couple in this game.
Go down! Mike 50! 5-0, 52!
Timeout, Cincinnati. Bengals will have 2 remaining. The Bucs are out of timeouts. And if Marvin Lewis gets a stop, he'll get what he wanted, a win going into the bye against his longtime friend, Dirk Cutter.
Just such a pivotal game for both of these teams, just trying to get over that hump a little bit. The Bucs at 3-3 to get to 4-3. They've got a tough road stretch coming up. So a huge thing for them. Cameron Brate even saying, you know, we kind of get to this point, you know, year after year, but we can't get over that hump, and we always just seem to hang around at 500 and desperately wanting to experience what playoff football is like in his career, and the Bengals maybe even more so. I think it's huge. You know, if you'd have a 3-game losing streak going into the bye after blowing this lead, whew.
These fans of these teams have had enough of the playoff drought. Whoever wins this game here will increase their chances at the halfway point of the season. Ryan Fitzpatrick on 4th down, the throw, and it's going to be a touchdown for the Bucs. O.J. Howard. Now Fitzmagic wants 2 to force the tie. We welcome those of you that just watched the Redskins and the Giants on a 4th down play. Ryan Fitzpatrick replacing the bench Jameis Winston after his 4 interceptions, converts to O.J. Howard. No timeouts, 1:05 to go, and a 2-point conversion attempt. Fitzpatrick throws, shovel pass. He's got it. A slam dunk for 2 to Chris Godwin. That is Fitzmagic. You're laughing. The grin from side to side. Daryl Johnston and Chris Myers enjoying this game, and what a wild game it's been.
Oh, my gosh. It's unbelievable what this guy is able to do. I mean, the Fitzmagic thing is legit. I mean, you got a guy coming off the bench cold. His team is down 18 points, and he gets them all the way back to tie it up. Watch this. This little jump back inside.
That's not even a shovel pass. There you go, sidearm flip.
Look at the conversion, the crisscross. I mean, there's defenders all. I mean, that window is so small.
He's fired up. The team believes in him. He handled starting the season well when the reins were handed back over to Jameis Winston after his suspension, and has responded for Dirk Cutter and this Buccaneer team.
Now, you can't control. You've got to go down and score and get this game tied up to try and push it to overtime. You left Andy Dalton 1:05 with 2 timeouts.
And a good kickoff. Erickson tries to get back across the field and up the middle. Knocked down short of the 25-yard line. Good special teams play by the Buccaneers. Dalton does have 23 career game-winning drives if you count in the 4th quarter or overtime. He's already had 3 this season. Remember, the Bengals started out 4-1, have tumbled a bit. It's like the Buccaneers started out 2-0 with Ryan Fitzpatrick, and then they went into a skid before losing last week. And have come back from 21 points down thanks to Ryan Fitzpatrick and the defense that has adjusted in the second half. Mark Walton is the back for Dalton, who fires quickly and completes at the 32-yard line. Tyler Boyd, who's had a career day on the receiving end. Clock running here. 2 timeouts for Cincinnati. Wide open, and he missed him. Trying to go to his tight end.
Yeah, I got to make that connection. Give your tight end an opportunity to catch, run, get up the field a little bit, and then get out of bounds.
State Farm Game Break show is coming up next. Remember, America's Game of the Week, too, with the Packers and Rams on Fox, and in the World Series with the Red Sox and Dodgers. There's Randy Bullock. Missed his first extra point of this season earlier in this game. Trying to get the first down, and Mark Walton does as the clock runs, and we're going to get a timeout Bengals with 1 left.
Well, for those audiences that are joining us right now, you know, the win will be the big thing here on this drive. You know, what is that yard line that the Bengals have decided upon that they need to get to?
Daryl Johnston, Chris Myers enjoying another fun Sunday in the NFL, and a sizable lead by the Bengals. Tampa Bay rallies with Ryan Fitzpatrick, and now it's up to, and even the kickers, Daryl, we were down on the field talking to them before the game. They couldn't assess because of the wind swirling. It was one way to start the game. It's another way now here in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, we played the first half, and it was in one direction, and now here in the second half, both teams said that it'll be important for our kickers to get out there a little bit early and figure out how that wind has changed here in the second half. And that will be the big question is what is that yard line? I mean, obviously you know, a long field goal versus a Hail Mary, which do you think has the best opportunity for success if you can get to that point? So we'll wait and see what this offense is able to do. But yeah, it's going to be a difficult scenario once you get down into that 35, 37-yard line. I don't know if that's your target point. It may have to be closer.
Randy Bullock's career long is 55 yards. tied at the moment. One timeout, 32 seconds. Dalton's throw open. Down to the 40 of Tampa Bay is A.J. Green. And a quick timeout. No timeout. Bengals still have one. They'll spike it instead. You see the line. That sets where at least we believe. And again, the wind is worth considering where Randy Bullock would be comfortable, or at least his coach, trying a field goal to win this.
Coming from the inside, second receiver in from the outside, A.J. Green. And we've seen these big plays at critical times during the course of the game. We saw Mike Evans get behind everybody. We've seen Deshaun Jackson get behind everybody. Now it's A.J. Green's turn.
And they preserve the timeout with 17 seconds. Dalton's throw, catch made, down to the 30. A.J. Green again. And now you're in range. Bullock, whose career best was 55. In fact, he's hit 7 of 14 over 50, but we have a flag down and now a second flag thrown late.
Really good job by Cincinnati getting up at the line of scrimmage and being able to clock that ball and keep that last timeout in their pocket so they could use the middle of the field on that last play.
Dalton with a couple of touchdown passes in this game, one of them to A.J. Green, who he hooked up with on the last couple of big plays to move them in range. To check the flag as they tend to A.J. Green on the sideline.
After the play was over, delay of game, defense number 53. The 5-yard penalty, first down. Please reset the game clock to 7 seconds.
Darius Taylor, as A.J. Green is being checked, playing at linebacker because Quan Alexander was hurt last year and is out for the year. The guy described as the heart and soul of the defense by Dirk Cutter called for that penalty after Dalton connected to Green. And let's see if the Bengals want to try and set up something where if Bullock prefers a certain hash mark. They still have a timeout, 7 seconds. Right now you're looking at a field goal in the range of 43 yards.
And this could just be moving it to one hash or the other as a request by your kicker.
Green 18! That's up!
They set up Randy Bullock, who missed an extra point today, but has hit. Other than that, he did have a field goal blocked. 5th of his career earlier this year.
And the other big thing about that penalty is that allowed Cincinnati to keep that last time out, to be able to move that one over onto the hash
and make it comfortable for Randy Bullock. So 44 yards officially. Bucs were down 21 and then 18. They score 18 points in the fourth quarter to tie, including a dramatic 2-point conversion. But Dalton marches Cincinnati close, and Fitzpatrick can only watch. Coming up later, America's Game of the Week in moments. Packers and Rams. Some will see the 49ers and Cardinals. Going forward, the Buccaneers will have to decide if Ryan Fitzpatrick is their quarterback the remainder of this season after Jameis Winston's 4-interception game. He's hoping to add to the wind, I think. What a sense of humor. He's a real card, that guy. And Bullock, this must feel like a lifetime for him. Randy Bullock from 44 for the Bengal win. It's up there. It's out there. It's through there. And the Bengals at the buzzer. There's a flag down. as the kick went through. If it's on the Bucs, it doesn't matter. There's a huddle from the officiating crew.
Personal foul, roughing the snapper defense. That penalty declined. The field goal was good, and the game was over.
Bullock delivers after Andy Dalton and A.J. Green set him up. And Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Bucs rally falls short in Cincinnati. Bengals go to 5-3. Bucs fall to 3-4.